severe, but the isolated thunderstorms still in the yellow could pop up. And tomorrow I'm going to give you a better bet for Calgary to see the heavy downpours, and then those storms in the southern prairies that are on the move in the east. So just tune in tomorrow to get the latest updates on that. I will say, I want to mention that on Sunday, we see temperatures dropping again here in Alberta. It's been such a roller coaster for you. 19 in Calgary. That doesn't scream end of July weather.
And also this weekend, we're expecting it to be a little bit more on the unsettled side. So along the foothills, southern Alberta, that's going to be combined with rain and some cool temperatures. So not looking at an ideal summer weekend.
More rain there. Now, as we look to Atlantic Canada, you're also seeing the heat and humidity build. And through the end of this week and the start of the weekend, that front will move on through and bring you the risk of thunderstorms, specifically on Friday here.
Yes, areas along southern New Brunswick, Miramichi, all the way to areas of PEI, we could see severe storms bubble up. So heavy rain, strong winds will be quite a threat here along the front, and that will slowly sink down south to areas like New Brunswick as we head into the overnight.
So tomorrow, sort of during that commute time, St. John, Moncton, parts of PEI, they could get going and booming. And then it's late across Nova Scotia, so as we lose a little bit of that daytime heating, you could see it in Halifax, likely when you're sleeping, waking up on the weekend to heavy rain in Newfoundland.
We know your forecast is twice as important on the weekends. That's why we got you covered with experts and insight on what matters most. Join me every Saturday and
about it being a stormy summer in Ontario, and we get this kind of heat and humidity. It adds to the instability in the atmosphere. It was already a breezy day. We felt that wind really coming. It looks like it's almost the middle of the night where Mark was because of those dark clouds. It's only the dinner hour for some people. They're just commuting home. I'm glad that that line of storms is not going right over the 401 or the QEW right now in southern Ontario. It's obviously back towards cottage country, but that could really be dangerous.
Yeah, it's probably going to reach that 401 QE corridor probably after the dinner hour. So once that rush hour has eased a bit, here's a look at all the instability in place. You can see those reds and oranges. That's where a little bit more is in play. You can see it's quite, there's a bit of a maximum just along those Lake Huron shores, which is why those storms are getting that extra punch as they hit the shorelines.
I know we're going to be getting some questions as well. I don't know if they're in the chat yet, but we are going to be hearing from people on YouTube and social, from our people here, because we don't have access at the moment. But yes, we want to hear from you. And again, I wanted to mention that if you are in the line of the storm, if it's safe to do so, we talk to, professional storm chasers when they do this. If you capture video or photo and you want to share it with us, that's always great information. But again, not if it's not safe. Maybe it's from your front porch, or maybe it's from inside your house. I do that a lot. Like, I'll open the front door, capture something really quick, shut the door back inside, because I am not a storm chaser.
Well, you don't enjoy the excitement of seeing the storm racing in and all those tree branches flying around?
No, I do enjoy watching other people like Mark Robinson run from the storm, but I don't want to personally be in it. He does a great job at what he does, describing it and feeling it firsthand. He's been in so many storms. He knows exactly what to do and how to be in the right place at the right time and stay safe as well. So certainly don't encourage anybody to do that if they're not prepared for it, because especially these storms are moving so fast.
Yeah, moving at what was it, about 80 kilometers an hour. That's pretty much highway speed. So once you're hit, it's out of there in just a matter of seconds. But that rain in behind, that could stick around for a little longer. I'll show you why. As we zoom out this radar image, you can see there's the main line of storms, but in behind that, there's quite a area of just gray skies and some drizzle to maybe some light to moderate rainfall.
Yeah, I think a lot of places in southern Ontario could use the rain. It's been so hot. I mean, we've certainly had our fair share of storms, but I'm finding, and I don't know if you're finding this as well, but a lot of the grass is starting to go brown. It's not as green as we might like it to be, so widespread rain would be nice. Not the kind that comes with a storm, not the kind that could cause possible flash flooding, but a steady rain that's not too intense would be nice. And I'm sure the farmers would appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I've even heard recently some reports about farmers talking about how it's been starting to get on the drier side of things. So I'm sure this rain is welcomed, especially If you are around Chelsea, Hanover, Wingham, Palmerston, Mount Forest, that area is probably going to see some of that rain as that line sweeps through the region.
Okay, so maybe not helping the Niagara farmers so much, no, the grape growers, but certainly up towards the little farther to the north and west. But this is an intense storm. We don't have tornado warnings on this particular line that we're showing here. That is, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings though, but here is the tornado warning. I know when we do these things, Dylan, often people will say, why isn't there a warning here? Why don't you issue a warning there? Again, keep in mind that Environment and Climate Change Canada are responsible for issuing warnings. We are here to communicate those warnings, but they are the only ones who can actually officially put out a warning. We certainly put out risk maps when we anticipate severe weather, and we can say, okay, our forecasters say this is where we think our severe weather will happen and what time. And we did that for this particular storm. We knew the ingredients were there and the potential was there for tornadoes today. We had it on our map last night. But where they happen is always a roll of the dice when there's such a huge area under the same kind of air mass.
And that's where you can help people who are at the forecasting offices issuing these warnings by providing that ground truth if it's safe to do so, sending in those reports so that they can get a better idea of what's going on the ground. And if you do see, like, I don't know, scary looking clouds, report it as is. Don't try and extrapolate too far. Just say exactly what you see, and then those behind the desk can maybe dig in a little bit further and use their expertise to determine whether or not it's something you should really be worried about.
Can we bring up Mark's view right now? I'm looking in our preview map, and I'm just in awe of what is going. Look at this.
That is quite the shelf cloud.
Wow, if you see this coming at you, yeah, you know you want to be inside. It is so dramatic. I mean, this is the kind of storm cloud that chasers love to see. I mean, it's just so beautifully structured. But again, you don't want to be outside in this if you're not a trained storm spotter. You want to be inside. And Mark Robinson, of course, is outside because this is what he does. He's driving right now.
Yeah,
so
Kim,
I'm
I'm actually traveling through. Oh yeah, if you can hear me, I'm in Lucknow. Just leaving the town now, headed towards the north a little bit because the actual sort of the more critical part of the storm is just to the north. So I'm actually going through there. Oh boy, there goes the Mennonite. I hope he gets into shelter fairly quickly because I'm in my car and I'm a little nervous. When you've got a horse and a buggy. Yeah, that's not great, and the winds are really picking up because I'm actually running parallel to the storm now, so it's catching up with me just a little bit. And if you look ahead, I'm going to see if I can zoom the camera up a bit. You can actually see leaves starting to come off the trees there. The winds probably a little stronger. I'm at the southern end of this storm, so that's sort of the part that could be dangerous if we get a spin up. So I'm actually keeping my head on a swivel right now. Because I've got, wow, look at that wind. I've got an interesting something off to my left, which I might have to stop and take a look to see if that's rotating. Kim, yeah, you're gonna have to give me a second. I'm gonna turn the car and change my camera angle. Just give me just a second.
It's getting really dark there, Mark. Wow.
This. Yeah, oh, I know it is. I'm just trying to get the camera off of the thing here and show you what I'm looking at. This is always fun to do when I'm live. But if you look back here, you can see right there. Just trying to see if that is rotating because you've got a clear area here, and that usually denotes that this right here could be rotating, and I don't see it's rotating particularly at this point. So it may be just a bit of an optical illusion, but the amount of lightning on this is kind of incredible. So I might have to get ahead of this. So I'm just to the northeast of Lucknow, and so I may have to try and get ahead of this so I can keep ahead and keep an eye on this far southern end of the storm here. So if we are going to see any sort of QLCS tornadoes, it's likely going to be sort of where I am right now. So I am gonna get a move on here, Kim, before I get rolled over by the line. Because once I get rolled over by the line, it's sometimes really difficult to get back ahead of the storm, and then all you're seeing is rain. And if you've got the potential for tornadoes to sort of show the audience, I want to make sure that I'm not stuck, somewhere in rain and not be able to see the storm.
Okay, well, this is a great view right now. So yes, keep on driving, stay safe, and we'll keep an eye on the radar. Oh, there's the lightning. Yep, we can see it too.
Yes.
So obviously lightning is...
Oh, here comes a big truck full of hay.
Uh-oh.
I had a car get damaged when one of those big hay bales came off the car. So please be aware if you are driving, flying debris coming across the road can surprise you. So just be prepared for that sort of thing, especially if you're running crosswise to the winds.
Yeah, that's good advice. You can see how strong the winds are. The crops are swaying in the wind. The sky looks incredibly dark. It's only 5:25 p.m. Eastern, so it's early. The sun is normally way up in the sky at this time of day, but certainly not with this storm. It's really made it very, very dark as it rolls in, and we have a shot of the radar here, and we can see again how its trajectory moving west to east, and it's a long line, so a lot of people will be impacted by this.
Yeah, it's going to bring a lot of you guys strong winds, heavy rain, and that turquoise dot right there, that's, I think Mark said he's northeast of Lucknow, is it? Yeah, so that's where Mark is right now. You can see how he mentioned he's toward the tail end of the line, trying to see if he can sniff out some rotation in it. Now as we zoom further out, you can see how far north that line of storms really stretches. It's give it a moment. Oh, slid too far over there. Stretching all the way along Highway 21 from, what is it, just north of Goderich up to Owen Sound, and now part of it's over the waters of Georgian Bay approaching Parry Sound.
Okay, so Parry Sound, you're likely going to get a good view of that storm as it comes in. Let's go back to North Bay, because North Bay is where we do have the tornado warning. Again, North Bay, Powassan, and Mattawa all under a tornado warning at this point in time. And again, we need you to take shelter if you're under a tornado warning. We're going to get a closer look at it. We were talking about the fact that even if this storm is not producing a tornado, it is producing winds 110 kilometers per hour potentially, so that's going to cause damage, and the storm itself is moving at about 85 kilometers per hour. So it's a fast-moving storm with very strong winds within the storm. So this is the kind of thing where you want to be inside, and you're looking at two places in particular.
Yeah, it looks like there are two areas of rotation right now. Neither of them are exceptional on radar, which is good news. It looks like they have lost a little bit of steam. One of those areas of rotation just along that Highway 17 corridor north of Lake Nosposing. It's going to be approaching Rutherglen probably pretty soon. So once again, along Highway 17 approaching Rutherglen. And then we have that other area of rotation a little bit further south along the line. That's going to be along the 630 around Kiosk, moving eastward, probably pushing, I don't know, north of Lake Cowichan. The good news is there aren't too many populated areas for this area of rotation, but the bad news is that I'm sure there are a lot of people out in the woods hiking, fishing, camping.
Yes, and we always encourage people when you go out into the woods and into these more remote areas that you have a way of communication, certainly a cell phone if there is cell service, a weather radio if you need that, because when an alert sounds, you need to have a way of getting that alert. And in so many cases, we can't have that if we don't have access to the internet or cell service in general. I know I've been getting these messages, Dylan, just the last couple of days that Rogers was offering. I know it sounds like an ad, but it's not, that they were offering satellite service with their phones so that you would be able to communicate when you were in these areas without cell towers. So I'm hoping that that is maybe a choice that people will have, another way of getting alerts out and being able to communicate with others. But again, if you're going to be in these remote areas, you need to be weather aware and paying attention to the sky, if nothing else. Yeah, that's good advice. Now we'll answer some of our viewer questions. One of the questions is asking, what is the weather looking like in Brampton? Well, right now, you're enjoying some fairly dry weather. Temperatures are quite muggy, I know. If you walk out the door, it feels like hitting a brick wall as you step outside. It's so hot, and the winds, it's like a furnace. The winds coming straight up from the southwest, which is the reason why it's so hot, are not doing anything to really cool it down. It's not like a cool, fresh breeze. It's just adding to the fuel, really. So yes, hot. We've got heat warnings in place all around southern Ontario. But they probably want to know what's happening a little bit later, Dylan. Yeah, it figures. It was probably Melinda, let's be honest. All right, so let's play out one of the forecast models. It's doing so far a fairly good job of showing that line of storms on the shores of
Lake Huron, and that line is going to continue to track southeastward as we push later on into the evening hours. The dinner hour is still probably dry, but as we push probably closer to that 8-9 p.m. mark, that's when we could see that line of storms finally beginning to enter the outer limits of the GTA, pushing through Brampton. That's when you can see those storms really starting to bubble up. You see those reds and purples. Now, don't take this at face value.
Right, it's a forecast.
Yeah, models, they still jump all over the place, but probably after the dinner hour, up to maybe 9-10 p.m., that's when you have your best chance of seeing some of those storms rolling through your neck of the woods.
Well, it's Thursday, so kids have soccer, there's baseball, that kind of thing. So a lot of organized activities. I want to say after school, but kids aren't in school right now, but they do have these summer rec programs. So yes, by 8 o'clock, there might be an issue. If you were doing these games at like 6 o'clock or 7, you should be okay. But boy, the later it gets, the more likely you are going to be in trouble. And I know that if it's the city, for example, they have to make the call. We're going to call this off because they certainly don't want kids out on a field of any sort if there's lightning involved. They'll play in the rain. Yes, I've seen it happen many times. I was a soccer mom, Dylan. But it's the lightning that's the real concern.
Yeah, and then looks like almost we might even get a second round of storms further into the overnight hours. That just shows you how muggy this air mass is. It's helping to just continually pump that instability. Looks like that second round potentially pushing out of the southwest as we head into the midnight hours. So if you're a light sleeper, you might get woken up just around midnight or just after it.
Or if you have a dog that's nervous if there's a thunderstorm. I know there's a lot of pups who really don't love a thunderstorm, so when they happen in the middle of the night, there could be a little dog shaking in your bed or underneath your bed when this happens. But the rain is good, the wind not so much. Certainly the lightning can be problematic, and because this whole area is under threat, at least for thunderstorms, you may want to make sure that you have a contingency plan in case you lose power.
Yeah, pretty much the entirety of southern Ontario now is all in that yellow box. That yellow box is a severe thunderstorm watch, and I believe that's when you have to have that plan in place. Conditions are favorable for the development of those strong storms.
Right, so the watch heads up, warning heads down. So the warning, it's happening or is imminent. It's knocking on your door. So the severe thunderstorm warnings are in red on this map. That's where the storms are actually happening or just coming to where you are. And then the whole area in yellow, as you mentioned, this is time to prepare because a lot of these storms are happening later in the evening or even through the overnight. And you want to have your house ready to go. Your eaves troughs cleared, for example, things like that. Anything that you might fear blowing away outside, you might want to tie it down or bring it in.
Now, it looks like we have good news coming out from areas around North Bay. That tornado warning has been ended and replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning, so there are no more tornado warnings in place. Let me just zoom out a little bit just to make sure. It's quite an expansive area being hit by these storms. Yeah, there's no tornado warnings anymore.
Okay, that's good news. You know, it's easier to spot a severe thunderstorm on radar than it is a tornado. When we see the tornado warnings, they're there for two reasons, one of two reasons. Either a trained storm spotter has actually seen a tornado, or forecasters see it on radar. And what they see is a spinning indication on the radar, and they say, okay, this storm could be producing a tornado. And even a rotating supercell is not necessarily a tornado, even at that point.
Yeah, it's only a small fraction of storms that ever actually go on to produce tornadoes. Every year we see countless supercells rolling across southern Ontario, many of them harmless, not even severe, Warren. They're just little clouds spinning their way through, dying without causing any harm. But it's sometimes when you get just a little stronger ingredients in play, that's when stuff can start to happen. It gets hectic in the office at the Weather Network as we're covering, keeping you up to date on the latest.
Okay, always take a tornado warning seriously. Even if that storm does not produce a tornado, you don't want to play that game of chicken with it. You want to get indoors and you want to get somewhere safe away from windows. We look at that particular storm that's coming across Lake Huron and we're saying, wow, look at that beautiful structure. But we're not telling people to go out and look at that. Just look at it here. Look at it through Mark's lens, because that's a much, much safer way to do it. Here's what the line looks like. And it's a pretty angry looking line of storms.
Yeah, you can see lots of reds on the map, even some purples as we head down closer to Lucknow and west of Craig Hill. That's probably some small hail, maybe up to nickel sized, mixed in with it as well. Probably not enough to cause any dents, but those winds are probably the bigger concern with this as it's kind of surging outward and those outflow winds start to really ramp up.
Let's take a look at Mark Schott right now. He is out on the chase for this particular storm. It looks like it's the middle of the night. Have you been getting some hail as well, Mark, or is that just rain?
That's just rain at this point, Kim. What is interesting, I'm sort of waiting for the line a little bit. I'm trying to figure out where I actually am. I'm near Wingham. The winds aren't all that strong. I expected them to be a bit stronger here, but lots of sort of potential spin-ups along the front of the line. Now, I can't catch up to the more northerly stuff now, so I'm going to potentially leave that one to go. And then I will probably head down south towards a Mitchell area, where the lake breezes are, and see how this line interacts with the lake breeze down closer to Exeter. So we'll see what it's like down there. But actually, it's funny. I'm actually getting the car bounced a little bit right now. I'll roll down the window a little bit, and so I'm going to point the camera out of the car so you can kind of see. You're looking right there. That's looking, I believe, to sort of that'll be looking to the southeast right now. So you can see a little bit of motion on that corn there. You can see the front of the shelf. So I'm actually sort of in behind the shelf now. But Kim, one of the most dangerous things of any storm, and I don't care if it's severe or not, is what you're seeing flashing in the sky right now, and that would be the lightning. As I was driving down, the lightning hit right behind the car, and I was in the car, totally safe, no problem. But when you have lightning that close, there's no flash and then a rumble. It's what we call a flang, because the flash and the bang happen at the exact same moment. And I can tell you, even being inside the car, it made me jump just a little bit.
Yeah, I've experienced that as well. I didn't know there was a name for it. I don't know if that you're just making up that name right now, but it seems apropos. Yeah, we're seeing.
Yeah, I think it's a storm chaser term actually, but
okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, that's yeah. We're starting to get the line itself sort of on top of me now. Yeah, there is some hail to my north. I'm not gonna, as I said, I'm not going to try and get towards that one, but I can see little spin-ups in the radar. Just to my south, so maybe what I'll do is I'll turn around and start to head south on this line, and make sure I roll up my window before I do that, or else the entire car is going to get very wet.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And just sort of see if I can get ahead of the line. Yeah, because the camera gets wet and then everyone gets mad at me. So I'm going to sort of head south now, so you're sort of looking right now to the southwest, and I'm going to see if I can get ahead of the line as I go south, and just sort of get an idea. There's a little more isolated cells down. And so yeah, we'll see what happens, because it's been definitely interesting so far. I mean, I was not expecting a shelf cloud quite that sculpted and beautiful, and now I'm inside the line itself. I did expect a bit more wind, but we will see. These storms love to surprise me. Kim?
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Looks like the roads are pretty quiet as well. We just saw one car coming in the opposite direction. We've got viewer questions, and here's one of them. These are always the questions because people want to know what's happening where they are. When will Bowmanville be impacted by the storm?
Well, it's probably going to be a similar story to many areas around the GTA pushing into the later evening after the dinner hour. We'll bring up one of the forecast models once again. Zoom it in a little bit toward Bowmanville. I believe it was just east of Oshawa. See if I can find it. There we go. There's Bowmanville. So now we know where it is. I'll put in a little marker so we know the spot. And now we can zoom out a little bit because that name will fade away just so it can accommodate all the other places. And now we'll play it forward, pushing closer to 6 p.m. That line of storm still well north. Then as we push closer to that probably 8, 9, 10 p.m. range, that's probably when we will see those storms working their way through the east end of the GTA, including Bowmanville. So 8 to 10 p.m., that's your best bet of seeing those storms, which means that if you have plans for maybe a little dining on the patio, you're probably in the clear.
Okay, yeah, do it early. The thing is, it's so hot. I don't know how many people are going to be sitting outside on a patio. Some people love it. If you have a fan maybe nearby, but this is a little too hot for a lot of folks too. It's dangerous heat. We're talking about Humidex readings in the low 40s, even mid 40s in some places, and that's part of the reason why we're seeing these storms. So when you get a hot, soupy air mass like the one we have right now, it means there's a lot of instability in the atmosphere, and then we need a trigger for the storms, and that's what this is doing. So this line is pushing all of that heat up, and boom, we get ourselves a storm.
Yeah, the atmosphere is always trying to find an equilibrium, try and balance out those extremes, those hots and colds. And these storms are one of the mechanisms that it can use to achieve that. And in behind this system, we will see temperatures cool down, relatively speaking.
Yeah, not a lot though.
Yeah, those Humidex values, maybe not in the 40s, but they will still be in those 30s. So it's still going to be muggy for the next few days.
Yeah, so yeah, we're not going to get a big swoosh, a big relief, which we sometimes do. We'll get a cold front coming through and the storms go off, and you're like, well, that's okay because I know that tomorrow will be a much fresher day. That's not necessarily going to happen. We're still being influenced by the Gulf of Mexico, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's been helping to really pump all that moisture. So not quite a summer backbreaker yet. Maybe have to wait until August or September before we get those really strong cold fronts that knock summer out the door. But for now, it's still kind of a muggy air mass. And let's jump over to one of the instability maps and show you some of the boundaries in play. I know earlier you talked about those lake breeze boundaries, which can make our forecasting quite a challenge.
Yes, Great Lakes can do that for you. Just keep in mind that the lakes, even though it's been a hot summer so far, they're relatively cool in comparison to the air. And when you get a breeze coming off these lakes, again, clashing with that hot, humid air mass, again, you can get a storm.
Yeah, I've drawn in some couple lines, one off of Lake Erie, the other one off of Lake Ontario on those north sides. That's where we have some confluence of winds and a little bit better ingredients at play. And when storms track over these, it can make them maybe temporarily see an uptick in intensity, or it could even trigger new storms to develop, which is why we're always keeping an eye on these types of zones.
And we can see a little more spin with this as well. This is what we were thinking might happen with this line of storms, and then we add in the addition of the lake breeze, and suddenly we have a bigger risk of a tornado. Currently no tornado warnings, which we're very happy about. We've had several already, beginning at about 3 p.m. Eastern, but they come and go fairly quickly. These storms are moving fairly quickly. We still have almost Ontario in its entirety, southern Ontario in its entirety, under a severe thunderstorm watch. That extends across into Quebec as well. And then we have in red, that's our severe thunderstorm warning, and that's where the line of storms are right now. So again, severe thunderstorm warning, it's happening or is imminent. A watch means we have the ingredients for a storm to happen. It's just a matter of time.
And speaking of a matter of time, we can take a quick peek at the western half of the country where they are dealing with their own set of storms. You can see the yellow on the map. That's where severe thunderstorm watches are in place. And it seems like we have some red boxes starting to pop up. Severe thunderstorm warnings, one just on the west side of Edmonton and one near Lac La Biche and one north of Westlock.
Yeah, we were thinking today that we might get some storms in this area, especially that corridor between Edmonton and Red Deer along the QE2. That's where we're suspecting severe weather, although anything in yellow, orange, or red could see a thunderstorm. But in the red area, that's where we were thinking, okay, that's got the best potential for severe weather. And as we know, thunderstorms can be hit and miss. You might see one 60 kilometers down the road and you don't see anything severe at all, but that's just the nature of summer and summertime storms. So again, an area of instability, 1 or 2 tornadoes possible in Alberta. So of course, if there are tornado warnings, we'll let you know here. Right now, just the severe thunderstorm warnings.
Yeah, I'll have to get the radar geared up for that as those storms begin to bubble up a little bit more. But for now, we'll switch our focus back over to Ontario. Let me bring up the radar right now. I can clear those drawings from previous storms in just a second once it gets a little bit of time to load.
It's a little slow, Dylan.
Yeah, a little bit.
I can feel your frustration. It's like, okay, let's go. Let's get out of here. Yeah, so Mark Robinson is in the field. If you're just joining us now, he's our storm hunter, and he's been watching a fairly significant shelf cloud that has now turned into rain and lightning too. He's trying to get to the southern tip of this line because, we're going to have him now, because he was suspecting, we could get some spin-ups on this line, and he doesn't want to miss that if it does happen. There he is, going slow. The rain's coming down. You trying to outrun this now? Slowly, Mark?
Yeah, I'm actually, Kim, I'm headed towards Wingham. The storm's sort of, beginning to hit Wingham itself. And everybody is doing what we always tell them to do, which is, please slow down, take it easy. It's better to be late than not make it and go into the ditch. I've already seen one car in the ditch earlier today. So definitely you don't want to have that happen to you. But Kim, one of the things, just after we were talking, literally 10 seconds after we were talking, the lightning bolt hit in the field beside me, and I jumped, literally in the car with my seatbelt on. I jumped like a foot in the air, just because it was so close and so loud. So yeah, one of the big dangers with these storms, a lot of lightning. Just a lot of lightning in here. And Kim, the other thing you had asked before was, did I hit hail? Yes, this time I can say I ran into some big hail just as I was sort of coming down one of these country roads near Wingham. Definitely there is some hail in here. Wasn't huge, but it's definitely there. So you're if you are driving out and about and you see this line coming towards you, please be aware. And if you are concerned about driving through it, doesn't cost you anything to just pull off to the side, let it go past, and then follow, and then sort of go to your destination. Keep the storms. So once this passes over you, you don't have to wait that long for it to pass over you. You might have some rain on the other side, but potentially much easier for most people to drive in something that isn't almost blinding rain. The kind of things that I'm used to. Whoa! There you go, lightning bolt just over those trees, just ahead of me. And this is why I'm not going to get out of the car, and I'll stay in the car and just follow this line. Now, Kim, I'm going to ask you real quick: is it because of the rubber tires that I'm completely safe in the car, or is it something else?
I think it's something else.
Yeah, it absolutely. You are correct, and of course, I'm cheating a little bit because it's actually what we call the Faraday cage effect. So it's actually the steel cage or the steel shell of your car. If your lightning does hit your car, it'll travel around the outside of the car, and as long as you're not licking parts of the inside of your car, you should be just fine. It'll fry every single component inside your car, but you will be safe, and who cares if the car gets destroyed if you're safe from the lightning bolt.
Okay, when I check in with you later, I'm going to ask you about what to do if there's a tornado warning and you're driving, because you have been there many times. You've got some great tips for people as well. So we'll check in with you momentarily, and maybe you can let us know a little bit about what you do and what's the safest thing for people to do if they're driving. And it's a little more than just heavy rain and wind.
Got it. Yeah, I absolutely.
Okay.
Other than make sure the camera's on, I'm going to give you some actual safety tips.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, this is a look right now at our line of storms, and you've circled Wingham. That's where Mark is headed. He's, on the doorstep of Wingham this hour, and he's just ahead of this line of storms. Although it looks like he's in the middle of it, he's really not. He's certainly not in the worst of it right now. Yeah,
and I know Mark was talking about those spin-ups earlier, how you can see those little areas where he's watching for potentially some minor rotation. Oftentimes this isn't anything to be too concerned about, but one of the ways we can see those areas on radar is when there are little bends in the line. So draw just a little line, you can see over in those little notches, that's where you can see that air a little bit rotating. Sometimes those can produce little spin-ups, but more often than not, they're just cool to look at and see on radar.
Okay, and that's what we want. That's what we prefer here. We don't need any mass destruction thanks to tornadoes in southern Ontario. We've been talking about a stormy summer. You and I have talked about tornadoes night after night, not necessarily in this part of the country. We certainly get them, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, night after night, tornado warnings there, Alberta, night after night. So it has been a busy summer, at least with the potential for tornadoes. Every time there's a tornado warning, it doesn't mean that a tornado will actually happen, but all the ingredients are there, and we may have a rotating supercell, and you cannot take any kind of chances. Right now, no tornado warnings as we speak, but severe thunderstorm warnings. And in red and in yellow, there's our severe thunderstorm watch, meaning you need to be aware that a thunderstorm could happen. If you're under the warning, it is happening or is imminent. So that's the difference between the yellow and the red. Pay attention to both, but a warning is more serious.
Yeah, and now we'll jump over to some viewer questions. We have, in fact, two places that we need to answer for. One is, what will Pickering get this evening? And then there's also another location. What is the forecast for Ottawa?
Okay, so one east of Toronto, one well east of Toronto. So let's start with Pickering, just east of Toronto. We had Bowmanville, which isn't too far from Pickering. So let's get down into that area just east of the GTA, or part of the GTA, but east. Can you get in closer? Let's go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. This is going to be the same, almost the same answer as we've given before. I know people, come in and out of a live stream, so we understand. We'll show you where the line is right now and the predictions for where that line is going to go. Again, this is a forecast. It's not 100%, but it at least gives you an idea on timing.
As we push probably after the dinner hour, that's when we begin to see that line of storms making its way into the GTA. At this point, it looks like probably, once again, that 8 to 10 p.m. mark is your best chance of seeing those storms roll in. But as you said, it's a forecast model, so it can change, especially if the outflow winds on that line begin to surge further ahead. It could speed things up by maybe even half an hour to an hour.
Okay, so just be weather aware, and if that watch changes to a warning, you know to get indoors. Yes, as you mentioned, it could go a little quicker. Sometimes these things break up and allow for a dry slot, so areas to your north and your south may get a storm and you may miss it, or your east and your west, that kind of thing. Sometimes it's not a straight line all the way through. It's quite hard for it to do something like that, to stay in the current structure that it has. And again, yeah, we could have these little cells popping up here and there. So now let's go to the nation's capital, where we look like we could have something, maybe around the same time slot.
Yeah, it looks like roughly around the same time slot. This one, it could begin as some scattered, more pop-up storms. And then as we progress later on, closer to that, once again, that 8 to 10 p.m. mark, that's when that line of storms will eventually move through the Ottawa corridor. Be on the lookout for some strong winds, because when you have linear storm modes, that's the primary concern, those strong winds kind of surging outward and producing a line of strong storms. And then in behind, just like we're seeing with the ones over Lake Huron, you might see a bit of a prolonged period of just some gray skies and drizzle to maybe light to moderate rain.
Okay, here's my next piece of advice. If it is your garbage day tomorrow, don't put your stuff out tonight. Wait till tomorrow morning. Get up early and put it out. It's the safer thing to do with this line of storms, because, I know it probably goes 50-50 with the people who like to put it out the night before and the people who do it in the morning. But knowing that this is coming and knowing that the winds are going to be strong with this storm, you don't want your recycling at your neighbors, you don't want to lose your bin, and you don't want everybody else's recycling bin necessarily at your house. So this is just one of those little pieces of advice. And if there's anything outdoors that you really are concerned about, bring it in or tie it down. If you've got cushions outside, you may want to bring those in if they're not waterproof. But yeah, just you have time now. That's the good news. And we still have a few more hours before it hits places like Ottawa and through the Ottawa Valley.
Yeah, that's good advice. Maybe the raccoons won't be so happy when they don't get any free meals tonight, because everyone's being proactive and keeping the garbage bins away from the roadside until the morning hours. But here's just a broader overview of that line of storms as it tracks eastward. Areas along that St. Lawrence corridor, Kingston, Brockville, more than likely it's going to be losing a lot of steam at that point, because as you know, as that sun begins to go down, that instability begins to fade. But it is July, so Mother Nature can always throw curveballs.
That's true. The sun does provide a lot of energy during the day, and that's why we talk a lot about the big storms happening in the late afternoon, hottest part of the day. We've had all day to heat things up, and then once the sun goes down, things tend to be a little less severe. It doesn't mean we don't get thunderstorms, because we have them, but it tends to be a little less intense. I think we have Mark Robinson coming up. Oh, okay, and I asked him a question before, and just in case, if you're driving and a tornado alert goes off on your phone, what is the best advice? And I know you've done this many times, Mark, and maybe your advice for yourself is not the same for the average driver, but you can let me know.
Yes, I will definitely not give advice for someone like me. I will give the advice for your average driver, and that would be, if you do have a tornado warning come up on your car, one of the things to do is look around, make sure your head is on a swivel to take a real quick look at what's happening around you, and if you do see the tornado, one of the old advice we used to give was to jump out of the car and go jump in a ditch. Before we realize the cars actually move. And you can actually drive away from the tornado. So we've actually changed it up a little bit. And basically, if the tornado is getting larger and larger, it's coming straight at you. In which case, turn off, one direction or the other. And usually the best direction to go when you are dealing with tornado is to the south, because the tornadoes tend to move towards the northeast. It's not always 100% true, but definitely towards the south, towards the northeast. So if you can pull south away from the tornado, that is ideal. And of course, if you are driving the car, you should have your seatbelt on anyway. And if you are, into anything that you just can't get away from it or whatever, one of the things to do is, put your seatbelt on, duck down as far as you can in the car. And one thing I am going to recommend that you don't do is stop the car underneath the bridge and get out and run up underneath the bridge supports. This is an old thing that people used to think that was a great way to get away from the storms or to be safe from the tornadoes. It turns out that's actually really bad because the wind can actually compress and speed up going underneath the bridges. So we see this all the time, and I'm just asking everyone to please not do that. It's just the best thing you can do. Drive away from the tornado itself, and as long as you can see it. And if you are really concerned because you're in the heavy just unbelievable rain and wind and hail, you're probably not directly in the path of the tornado. Actually, usually with a lot of storms, the tornado will actually be in the clear air of the storm. Not always, and this is just a general advice. But yes, if you're in that sort of the core of the storm with lots of hail, you're probably not as close to the tornado as you think. But either way, slow down, keep your head in a swivel, and if you do see a really big wind shift, which means that the winds are coming from one direction, then suddenly they spin around and go in the other direction, you may be in the tornado itself. At that point, just duck down and put as much steel as you can between you and the winds.
Great advice. Thank you, Mark. It looks almost like we're watching black and white television. It's either really dark or really gray where you are. It seems like you've gotten out of the heaviest rain, but we're still getting a great view of that cloud.
Yeah, what's interesting now is you're actually seeing the gust front surging ahead of the main core, and that usually to me denotes the storm is losing strength, and you'll see it sort of shoot out a what we call an outflow boundary, and that does look like what's happening with the storm, which usually, again, as for me, does tell me the storm is beginning to weaken a little bit, because it's sort of dumped a bunch of it out. Having said that, though, there is some big hail in there that I can see on radar, and there are another set of storms coming sort of a little further south down towards the Sarnia region. But keep in mind, the most dangerous thing in any storm is the lightning. So thunder roars, go indoors, and stay indoors until at least 15 minutes to 30 minutes after the last rumbles of thunder, and that you won't have to worry about lightning at all. But keep in mind, lightning can travel quite far from the storm itself. Talking with Dave Sills yesterday, and he was nearly nailed by a lightning bolt 25 kilometers away from the storm itself. So that gives you an idea of how far that lightning can travel away from the core of the storm. And Kim, I'm going to pull over just for a second. So if you just bear with me just a second, I'm going to show you the core of the storm that I'm just getting ahead of a little bit here. I'm going to zoom that out a little bit, and it's been really doing a lot of flashing of lightning. This is sort of what's following me right now. You can kind of hear some of the rumbles of thunder, and then you can sort of see. But again, usually when this line, see this line way, I'm trying to get my finger in front of here. I can't quite do it. This line right here, there we go, right there. If that is really tucked very close to the core itself, that tells me the storm is still strong. But because it's so far away at this point, I think this storm might be weakening just a little bit. But that doesn't make it any less dangerous when we're talking about lightning. But definitely, yeah, it's got some very interesting features to it. Kim?
All right, thank you, Mark. Some great information there, some great advice as well for you if people are driving in this, and it's good to hear that it's weakening a little bit. We have had incidences of power loss, though. So what were the numbers? Did you catch that?
I believe it was 18,000 people or customers without power, and I think that was Grey and Bruce County, if I'm not mistaken. That was when it rolled through that Bruce Peninsula area. Severe warnings, strong winds going right through.
Here's a look at Port Elgin on the shores of Lake Huron. Wow. As the storm rolled in, there's the shelf cloud. People are all out on the beach. Okay, people, time to get in. I don't know, they don't seem to be rushing, but nonetheless, we were mentioning how you can see a storm coming for kilometers on Lake Huron. It's a massive lake, obviously, so you can see the storm from far away, and it gives you that time. It's not going to sneak right up on you. It gives you that time to get out of the way of it. But yeah, this is some pretty dramatic footage with the combination of the sun that's shining on the beach and then that dark cloud that's rolling in, Dylan.
And you could even see a bit of a notch on the right side of the cloud earlier where those clouds are a bit tucked in. That's some of the areas where you can sometimes see a bit of rotation develop. And speaking of some hazardous weather, here's a look at the hail swath on the map. You can see some hail developing, those pinks lighting up as the line slides south.
Okay, so we've got another element to these storms. Not surprising. This is pretty much par for the course when it comes to severe weather, the onset of hail. Again, hail, lightning, some strong winds with these storms, 90 to 100 kilometers per hour. Up around North Bay where we had the tornado warning earlier, ECCC was saying, 110 kilometer per hour winds with this line of storm. And it was moving very fast as well. Now, I'm not sure about this line in particular. It seems to be on the move though, Dylan. We've been doing this live stream for about an hour now, and it has moved significantly. We can see how far it has moved away from Port Elgin, for example.
Yeah, let's walk through right now and talk about the locations impacted and areas just downstream. So let's start at the southwest end of the line. Right now, Wingham, Mildway, Hanover, Durham, you're under that thunderstorm right now. Areas in Listowel, Palmerston, Harriston, Mount Forest. Heads up, this storm is headed your way. If you are driving on Highway 6, Highway 10 corridors, could get a little bit dicey at times, as you saw from Mark's stream earlier with those heavy rains coming down. Pushing a little bit further north, you can see into Durham, Markdale, all the way up to Thornbury. That's where the line of storms is currently located. So if you're in Flesherton, Collingwood, Dundalk, even Creemore, Stayner, heads up, that storm is headed your way. There is that severe thunderstorm warning in place.
We have some video. I'm just going to pull away here for just a second, showing you Owen Sound and what was going on there with the heavy downpours and the strong winds as well. Again, it got really dark really quickly. Owen Sound in the path of this particular storm. And by the way, we do really appreciate your storm videos. We don't want anybody to get hurt, though. We can see there's a lot of lightning on this particular storm. It's flashing, and we want people to be inside if they can be in storms like this. If there's a severe thunderstorm warning, same thing. But we do appreciate, your photos and videos. Again, we always say if it's safe to do so, because it really tells the story. It helps Environment and Climate Change Canada tell their story to figure out what's going on, where the warnings should be issued, etc. So thank you for that, by the way. Thank you for the Port Elgin video. It was a gorgeous video. And hashtag #OnStorm for any kind of weather video or storm video in the province of Ontario. Once you put hashtag on storm, people can look it up pretty quickly, especially forecasters.
It's a great way to share information about what you're seeing and report potential hazards. I know forecasters have their eyes always on those hashtags to see what the latest ground truth is, because radars, they can only give you so much because they just look kind of further up into the storm. They don't see that bottom section of the storm, which is where people are living and where we get those impacts.
Yeah, they certainly can't tell what kind of damage has been done post-storm as well. I mean, if there is damage, that's always good video to see as well, so we know what happened where. Certainly if there was a tornado, you can tell by the damage whether or not there was a tornado. Even if you didn't see one of the storm itself, you may see it from the scattering of debris around your property or something along those lines. So, I mean, this is taking up a big chunk of geography here. We have this line is going from southern tip of Lake Huron all the way up, stretching into northern Ontario.
Yeah, it's testing our geography skills. Hopefully you paid attention in class.
Here we go. Well, did you? Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes.
He's like sometimes. All right. Yeah, that would be Georgian Bay.
Yeah, hopefully. Here's a look at the southern part of Georgian Bay. You can see Wasaga Beach. You're probably half an hour away from that storm moving into your area. Once again, strong winds, heavy rain, maybe some nickel-sized hail. Midland, it's maybe 15 minutes away from you. It's just on your doorstep, already moving onshore. And then for Port Severn, it's there maybe in half an hour or so. Mactier, it's right on your doorstep. The good news is for this northern section of the line, especially on the east side of Georgian Bay, doesn't seem quite as strong as that section that's a bit further to the southwest.
And there's where all the celebrities are, Lake Joseph, Lake Rosso. I think their cottages will probably be okay. They're probably sturdy enough over there, but yeah, they will also see these storms coming. That's the thing. If you have a property on a lake, you can see it crossing the lake. If you're in the middle of the woods, not so much, harder to see. And we've been talking about the fact that there's a number of power outages already, about 18,000 without power. A lot of that has to do usually with some kind of damage, trees coming down, tree limbs coming down. The winds have been particularly strong. Hydro is really good, I find, at getting people back online. If the area is not too remote and the storm has passed and it's not dangerous for the hydro workers to get out there, I find that they get people up and running pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're working oftentimes around the clock to restore after these significant events, working hard. Thanks to all the hydro workers who are working, keeping us online. Here's a look at the outages impacting Grey Bruce County. Over 18,000 customers. That's quite a few people.
Yeah, that's, we thought that this could be the case. I have been in a cottage where we lost power, tree limbs came down, it was a downburst situation, and it gets pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly when you don't have any power, any lights, that kind of thing. So hopefully most people have backup generators. We're looking right now at Mark's view. Mark, that's pretty intense. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, Kim, I'm actually going to turn around. Moment.
Can you repeat it? You're kind of coming in and out, so I want to get what you said right off the top.
Oh, my apologies. Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
I just said that you're looking to almost to the west at this point, right into the line. A lot of lightning on this line still. So that's been impressive, but some of the winds, actually you can see debris flying. Okay, I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna jump out and it's gonna show you how strong the winds are without getting completely soaked. So there I am, and you can kind of get an idea of how strong the wind is just with the flying air. And actually I'm gonna turn the car a little bit south because I am getting really soaked. Oh, rain jacket on, but I wanna show you how strong the winds are. And if you look sort of down the road here, see if I can zoom in the shot, and you'll be able to see how strong those winds actually are as they're starting to blow that corn around just a little bit. Lots of cars going directly into this, so just want to caution anybody that's sort of headed into this line. These are the kind of winds that you might see. And yes, I have seen branches starting to get ripped off by the line itself as I've been traveling towards the east. I'm actually traveling towards Mount Forest right now, but I may actually go a little bit south of that towards Arthur, just to sort of get ahead of the line a little bit and just see how strong the winds are underneath the storm. Was some hail in there, but we're definitely dealing with the damaging winds. Wow, look at that. I'm going to zoom up a little bit, and you can kind of get an idea right there. That should give you an idea of how strong those winds are in there. Let me see if I can zoom that in. You can actually see the rain curtains moving past. Look at that. Wow, that is really cool. There's just so much rain happening in there. And that is where you get the damaging winds right there. What you're seeing is what you get when it comes to the potential nastiness of this line of storms.
They look like Dementors.
Yeah, that'd be one way to put it. I'm just, oh wow, here we go. I'm about to get bounced pretty hard here, I think, just as this line begins to really catch up with me. As I said, I want to try and stay ahead of the line, but I thought, you know what? I'll sample the line just for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. My goodness. Look at that. Yes, the rain sweeping across. We're really getting a good indication of how strong those winds are. Likely the reason why we've seen a number of customers lose power. I don't think this is going to be particularly fun to drive in. Thankfully, you've got a sturdy vehicle, Mark, and you can handle it. But I think, if that was me, I would likely be pulled over in a situation like this because, visibility can become poor pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the big dangers also is not just the winds, but how bad the visibility can get so fast. So if you have to pull over, I'm going to suggest, you know what, be a little bit late to wherever you're going, because leave the crazy driving to me rather than trying to do it yourself. I'll show you what it's like in the center of the storm, and while you just wait for the storm to pass.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think a lot of people are probably just anxious to get home at this point in time. It's just about 12 minutes after 6 p.m. Eastern, and a lot of people, if they're not home yet, they're probably on the way home and hopefully not stuck in this. The good news is the storm's moving fairly quickly, unless you're driving, say, north and south. But the storm is moving quickly west to east, which is good news. We're looking at the radar right now. We'll be checking in with our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, momentarily. But what a shot that he's capturing.
Yeah, it's always so cool seeing those rain curtains being blown by the wind, because wind by itself you can't see, but when you have those indicators such as trees or rain, you can see those rain curtains blowing. It's always very cool to see. Here's a look at the radar right now. You can see that line of storms still tracking, and there is some purple showing up just to the east and south of Wingham. That could indicate some small hail mixed in with the rain and wind as well.
Okay, so they're probably listening to it right now, east of Wingham. When you hear that hail against your windows in your home, boy, it just becomes really dramatic really quickly. It happened to me not that long ago in Hamilton, and it was really late at night, and the hail, it seemed like the whole house was getting bombarded with this hail. It was so loud, and I don't know if it was especially because it was at night. It seems so dramatic, but you know when it happens. And hail can cause issues. It can cause damage to crops, of course. We don't want that happening. And if it's very large, it can cause damage to things like cars, etc. So hopefully you're indoors, you're away from this. If you're under that severe thunderstorm warning, many areas are right now, you're going to want to be inside and just staying comfortable. Watch the storm from YouTube the way we're watching it. We'll let Mark actually experience it firsthand, but this is a big area that's under the severe thunderstorm warning. It looks like it's expanding a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's being pushed further and further south as that line continues to track kind of southeast. You can see those red boxes. That's where you have that severe thunderstorm warning in place, which means that the hazardous weather is imminent. You want to be taking action, whether it's maybe bringing your favorite flower inside, or maybe taking a bit of a pause from the hike, getting into the car, getting into a building until that storm passes and clears your area. That severe thunderstorm warning is now south all the way down to Stratford, Milverton, Arthur, just on the doorstep of Orangeville, Alliston, Churchill, and now it looks like it is also including the city of Barrie, Orillia, Washago, and all the way up the Highway 11 corridor through Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, and Huntsville.
Okay, all the big popular spots are now under the severe thunderstorm warning. Another popular spot, Port Elgin. You would have seen this in both Port Elgin and Southampton, I'm sure, the shelf cloud that was rolling across Lake Huron. People are out on the beach. Of course, it was a very hot day. You want to be near the water on a day like this with temperatures in the 30s and humidex readings in the 40s. But when you see something like this, you're going to want to get off the beach sooner than later. These people have packed up and they're on their way out. That's smart. As soon as you start seeing that lightning, even though the storm seems far away, you want to get in because lightning can happen, you know, well away from where the cloud itself is. So you don't have to be close to the storm to have lightning impact you. Okay, we have questions from our viewers. We appreciate that you're doing this and you're coming along for the ride here on YouTube. Are tornadoes expected in Barrie? What time is the storm expected? And we just showed the severe thunderstorm warning in Barrie.
Yeah, so right now is your time to be taking shelter from that severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued up to Barrie. In terms of tornadoes, probably not. It's looking rather unlikely just because we have that linear storm mode, which means that those straight line winds are the main concern. Of course, you can get little spin ups, but it's not something you should be overly concerned about. Most likely, you'll get a good light show, get some winds, and then it's going to be out of your area. We'll bring up
we know why people in Barrie would be concerned about tornadoes. Obviously, Barrie has been the victim of a massive tornado and actually has been hit by tornadoes more than once. So I can see why people would get a little nervous, maybe thinking back to 1985. But as you say, linear storms, we don't want to rule anything out, of course, but it's less likely than likely. But yes, the storm is on your doorstep, and as soon as it moves through, which we anticipate it will do fairly quickly, you won't exactly be in the clear, but you'll be less likely to see severe weather.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be moving into the city of Barrie maybe in that 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. mark. So you have maybe half an hour to an hour before those skies will really start to darken and that rain will start to pour, and then it should be out of your area already by that 8-9 p.m. mark and maybe dry for the rest of the night unless we see that other round of storms move in from the southwest. That's something we've been keeping an eye on. It looks like it's going to stay south of Lake Simcoe, but can't rule out a few rumbles pushing even further north.
That'll be a storm for the GTA, for Hamilton, maybe parts of Niagara as well being impacted by that one to the south. Yes, but obviously it's cottage country right now that's really being hit and are in the line for the storms, but these storms are moving into southwestern Ontario, moving towards places like Kitchener and Guelph, Waterloo. They may all be impacted in the next couple of hours.
Yeah, let's time it out for Kitchener right now. You can see the line of storms similar to most areas in that 401 corridor around that 8 p.m. mark is when those storms begin to roll into your neck of the woods.
Okay, so 8 o'clock, I mean, this is a forecast. Yes, you're going to want to pay attention if there's a severe thunderstorm warning. If you know how to read a radar, that's always a good skill to have as well. You know exactly where it is. Now is the time if you want to take the dog out for a walk or do what you need to do outside, do it now. You still have about, let's say, hour and 40 minutes or so before things really get ramped up. But you know, you want to do things sooner than later so that you do have time to relax, but now is the time to prepare in southwestern Ontario for the possibility, if not probability, of a thunderstorm.
It's quite a strong line of storms. Heavy rain, wind are the main concerns. As you can see on radar, that line of storms extending from areas just northwest of Listowel all the way to Collingwood, and across the shores of Georgian Bay and pushing into cottage country through MacTier and approaching that Highway 11 corridor just west of Burkes Falls.
Earlier we had tornado warnings in North Bay and Mattawa area that was downgraded to a severe thunderstorm warning, so we're not worried about that at the moment. But our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, has been around the Wingham area. I don't know if that's where you are now. He's been following this storm for the last hour or so and has been in the worst of it certainly at times. But where are you now, and it's looking a little bit more favorable than just a little while ago.
Yeah, if only you could see out my rear view mirror, though.
Oh, okay, okay, it's behind you. All right, it's behind you.
It's behind me. The cars behind me, I just keep disappearing into the murk, the high-speed murk behind me. And that's actually, I'm just to the north of Palmerston. I'm headed almost literally due east right now. And this storm is quite interesting because even though the gust front has sort of detached itself a little bit from the main core, the winds in the storm are still extremely strong. So I just pulled out of the sort of the winds coming down out of the storm just a little bit, and as I was doing so, multiple branches and leaves, etc., coming off the trees. Again, we're not seeing whole trees down. I do know that I've been hearing you talk about power outages. That doesn't surprise me one little bit with this line of storms. But even the winds of small branches coming down. If you're out and these winds hit, best thing to do is be out of the wind. Even small branches can be quite heavy, and you can get injured or killed even from branches coming down. So that's one thing to just be aware of more than anything. And of course, I've said this. I think I've said this a dozen times now, which is the lightning. The lightning is going to be the biggest danger, and this storm is producing a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Oftentimes these storms will be just cloud to cloud, the skies will flash, you'll hear the rumble, but you won't see the bolt. This time, literally just right to my north, I just saw another cloud-to-ground hit, literally as I'm speaking. So these are these are the very dangerous bolts, those cloud-to-ground ones, because those are the ones that can strike you. So that's something just to be aware of, that this one is producing a lot of cloud-to-ground strikes. Add in the winds, the rain, everything else. Best thing to do, because this line is fairly thin, just wait in the shelter, just find a spot, pull off, wait if you're driving. If you're in the house, just, let it go by, watch the light show, and that's about it. Now, the one thing that is interesting that I've seen, and this one often happens with these storms, the line isn't filled in too much when you sort of go towards the Blythe, south down towards Exeter. It's not much of a line there, but there is another group of storms behind that. And you quite often see this with Southern Ontario storms, where you'll have little breaks in the line that fill in later. And so that's something just to be aware of. That part of the line may be moving towards Kitchener-Waterloo. I'm very familiar with that area. So just one of these things, just to be aware of, that the show is not over yet.
Yeah, that's good, because people might think, okay, the storm's rolled through, now I can go out, now I can, do what I wanted to do, and then you get caught again, which is not what you want. So, yeah, that's good for people to be aware. And obviously, with any kind of storm situation, lightning is always the most dangerous element. There's certainly a lot of electricity on this particular storm. We know that there are already a lot of power outages up around Owen Sound area, Bruce County. So yes, be careful. If you're not in the warned area, but you are in the watch area, this is the time to prepare for those strong winds, the rain, the lightning, whatever it is that you need to prepare for. Maybe if you have the option to not park under a tree, for example, you can move your car to a better location, because sometimes that's what happens. A branch comes down, or worse, a tree comes down onto your vehicle. So if you have a choice to park it somewhere else and you're in the line of these storms, you might want to consider that.
And that's always good advice. You don't want an expensive accident from a storm. And it looks like we have some other footage of a shelf cloud as well.
Yes, we do. And after we show you this in Sauble Beach, Ontario, there it is again on Lake Huron, that incredible shelf cloud that we captured earlier. Our storm hunter Mark Robinson saw it coming to around Point Clark. He was. So this is Sauble, which is about maybe 45 minutes or so from Port Elgin. Another popular spot, Saugeen Beach now, I think they call it. Edmonton is now under a severe thunderstorm warning. We were talking about the warnings being just west of the city, so we're just going to pop in on Edmonton for a moment. Obviously a major city center, and we have severe thunderstorm warnings in the city itself and just to the west of the city.
Yeah, that red box over there, that's the severe thunderstorm warning for Edmonton. That means that hazardous weather is on your doorstep. This storm is warned for hail, nickel to ping pong sized hail. It's a bit of a range, but hopefully on the lower end, because ping pong sized hail can do a number on your garden, on the crops, and even on your car.
Yeah, it can be pretty intense. We know that Alberta is known for its hailers. They've got big hailstorms. Calgary has seen more than its fair share of damaging hailstorms, and it can happen in just a blink of an eye. Millions of dollars in damage thanks to hail. So hopefully this one not too bad, but obviously there is concern about large hail with this particular storm.
Yeah, I'll bring up the radar right now so that you can see exactly where this storm is, because it's not all of the city that's being impacted by this storm, because we issue warnings based on the counties. So you highlight the entire area, even though if it's only a small section that's actually impacted by the storm.
That's why it's important to watch us. You can't get that from your app.
Exactly. That's why you watch us, so you know what neighborhoods, what rivers, what lakes are being hit by those storms.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in on it right now. You see a lot of purple on the radar right there. Hold up. Let's see if the marker is going to work properly. So that's where our storm is right now. It's going to be tracking east, approaching that Highway 2 corridor, probably south of the 216 or just around that 216 Highway 2 intersection.
Okay, I have family in Beaumont. Should I be warning them right now?
Let's see, I have another radar app just on the side so I can look at things real quick. It looks like Beaumont probably in the clear. It's going to remain north of it, but along that 216 corridor, that's where you have your best chance. So maybe if you are in Bretona, I don't know if the warning goes all the way east up to there yet, but Bretona, be on guard just in case that storm gets closer.
Okay, so there's the area. It includes the city of Edmonton, which is under the warning, but it's just south of the city, of the metro part of Edmonton right now. But again, this is an area that we thought, okay, there is potential for severe weather today, anywhere between Edmonton and Red Deer primarily, where these storms pop up. Again, it's usually fairly random, not 100% random. We have the ingredients, it's just where they're going to pop up. We thought the same thing about Ontario. It's playing out exactly as we had anticipated. A lot of heat, a lot of humidity. We've got a front moving into this really unstable atmosphere, and we suddenly get storms. We're going to go now to Sudbury in the Nickel Belt in northeastern Ontario. Beautiful look here. We had some stormy weather in Sudbury, yes, earlier. It's hard to tell. It's looking very calm, though. The lake is not moving. Okay, here comes the cloud. I see. Okay,
it's rolling in.
It's a time-lapse situation. All right, I'm watching this live with everybody else, trying to figure it out. Okay,
there come the winds.
Yep, things are changing in a hurry. I'm like, this is a beautiful, calm area. Okay, and now the rain. That's fantastic. All right, and that's what we can anticipate with these storms. You're going to likely feel that wind picking up first, and the skies will darken and then open up. Hopefully you're lucky enough just to get rain and nothing more, and not hail like we are potentially seeing in Alberta right now.
Yeah, I've brought another map on the side just to give you more information. So it looks like right now that hail core is around the Heritage Village and Rutherford neighborhoods, and it's going to be crossing east into the Summerside, Walker, and Ellersile neighborhoods within the next maybe 15 minutes to half an hour. Looks like we have another paper coming in. It might be another tornado warning.
Yep, it is. Okay, so the tornado warning now is for Huntsville and Baysville. So it was a severe thunderstorm warning. We were pointing out these areas under the severe thunderstorm warning and saying, you have to be prepared, you have to be indoors, and tornadoes come from severe thunderstorms. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a tornado right now, but this storm could produce one. So likely they've seen some rotation on the storm itself. This is a whole line of storms that we've been following, moving from west to east, and now Huntsville and Baysville are currently under that tornado warning. If you are under that warning, again, we want you to be indoors. We want you to be in the lowest room of your home that's possible. If that's a basement, great. An interior room, like a small bathroom or closet, away from windows. The whole thing is about staying away from flying debris. That is what can hurt you or kill you. So right now, the area that's in purple is our tornado warning. What are you seeing on the radar?
Right now on the radar, there isn't exactly a exact area that I would say that area of rotation is. So I would say at the moment, just if you are in this purple box, you want to seek shelter as that line of storms rolls through, because those areas of rotation can spin up really anywhere. I'll bring the radar up still anyways to see if there is something that comes up on the latest scan that is noteworthy. Give it another second to load again. We have so much data on this system, so it can bog down a little bit here and there.
That's the price you pay for accuracy, right? You just
Yep.
you got to wait a minute for it. Hopefully not too much longer.
Otherwise, there might be some broken keyboards.
Okay, there's Huntsville. So, I mean, I don't know if this is caught up yet.
Is there
or
any description?
Not yet.
Not yet? All right.
No.
Well,
Usually they'll issue a couple of warnings. The first one comes out, they'll tell you what's been upgraded or where the tornado warning is. Then shortly after, they'll issue another warning saying, okay, this is located right here in this location. It's moving at this velocity or speed. The last one, when we were talking about North Bay, moving about 85 kilometers per hour to the east. Okay, so we're going to go to our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. I don't know if you heard the latest, Mark, but Huntsville and Baysville currently under a tornado warning. We don't have much detail yet. Dylan's not seeing a ton on the radar at the moment, but you know, this can be a dangerous line of storms that you're tracking today.
Oh yeah, no, take it seriously. I mean, better to take it seriously, get in your shelter, and not have it go over top of you than the other way, which is, oh no, it's not going to happen, and then suddenly you've got flying debris. Yeah, I mean, you can see sort of on the shot right now, I'm headed down sort of south.
We're losing Mark. Oh no. Okay, so Mark's technology is not.
Oh no.
Oh, you're back again. You're back
Kim?
again. Yep.
Okay, yes.
Oh, I've lost you. Okay, I know you're going to do something to make this better. Why don't you check in with us when your signal's a little bit stronger? Mark is on the road right now chasing this particular storm that's been impacting southern Ontario. We're bringing the radar up right now to show you what's happening with the temperatures ahead of this line of storms, and behind this line of storms we can see almost a 10-degree difference, in some cases even more than that. So right now we do have a tornado warning. Huntsville and Baysville, those are the areas currently under the warning. If you are here in that region, then you'd want to get indoors, get into a safe spot, likely a basement if you've got one. And again, these areas are usually issued for a much larger area than where the storm is in particular, but this is a long line of storms. Whether or not you actually get a rotating storm or a tornado, you're getting a thunderstorm and likely a severe one moving through.
Yeah, that's why you always want to take these warnings seriously. Looks like we have another paper coming in. Hopefully it has a bit more information on where that warning is.
Okay, so here we go. It's located from Bordeaux to Raymond. Bordeaux to Raymond, moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. So another very fast moving storm. 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts are possible with this. So that's what the hazards are: a tornado, possible tornado, and 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts. Of course, if there is a tornado, the winds will probably be higher than that. Locations impacted include Huntsville, Arrowhead Provincial Park, Big East River Provincial Park, and J. Albert Bauer Provincial Park. So that gives you an idea where we are in Ontario, a very rural area, remote area, an area where people love to spend their summers. It's absolutely gorgeous on the lake, in the woods. So it's also dangerous. And if you're in a tent, it becomes dangerous. I know these provincial parks usually have a sound structure that people can get into if need be. But again, the areas include Huntsville, Arrowhead Provincial Park, Big East River Provincial Park, and J. Albert Bauer Provincial Park. And the tornado, or the storm that's possibly producing a tornado, I want to word that correctly, is located from Bordeaux to Raymond, moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. So these towns certainly quickly go by the wayside if you're in the warning now because of how fast this line of storms is moving.
Yeah, here's the radar right now. Doesn't look like a Bordeaux showing up on it, but it seems like the problem section on this storm is right Give it a second for the marker to load in. Kind of that bowing segment. If I were to guess, when you have that bowing segment, you have the winds pushing in behind, and then you get a little bit of a curl onto that left side. That's probably where that area of rotation is. It's going to be tracking toward Huntsville, and you have that Arrowhead Provincial Park right over there just off Highway 11. So if you are there, you want to seek shelter as the warning had highlighted.
Yeah, because this is fast moving, as we've been saying. You don't have a ton of time, especially when a tornado warning and even a severe thunderstorm warning is issued. It means this is going to be happening imminently. If you have a watch, you have more time. A watch means this is the time to prepare for a possible storm, and a lot of areas are under that severe thunderstorm watch. In fact, most of southern Ontario is under that watch. But we do have a few areas in the severe thunderstorm warnings which keep moving, tracking farther east as that line of storms moves east. So a warning, yeah, that it's time to pack up and go inside. And we can see that the areas that were under the warning earlier around Owen Sound are now in the severe thunderstorm watch. So the warnings have been dropped there, but this is what it was looking like a little bit earlier. There is that shelf cloud in Owen Sound, and this is a spot that has lost power. About 18,000 customers. That's the last number we had. It could be higher or lower at this point in time, but 18,000 customers lost power, and that is, that's an indication that a storm's coming when you see a shelf cloud like that, Dylan.
Yeah, it's one of Mother Nature's ways of warning the people ahead that maybe you want to head inside and let it roll through, but as a storm chaser, it might be one of the indications to go full charge outside and see what it's got.
Yeah. Well, yes, there's a different takes on a storm like that. It is a beautiful thing to look at if you're safe, if you know what to do in a storm like that. Obviously, our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, loves a shelf cloud, and really, people do too, because we're seeing so many photos of this particular storm, so many videos of this particular storm online as well, and there's fewer things more dramatic than that. Maybe a tornado itself, the rotation of a tornado, but a shelf cloud, a roll cloud, these things are pretty impressive.
Yeah, always a sight to see. We'll bring up the warning and watch map again. So as you mentioned, those warnings were dropped for parts of the Bruce Peninsula. Still have that severe thunderstorm watch in place. The southern extent of these warnings doesn't seem to have changed too much since our last look at it. So still Barrie, Alliston, Orangeville, Stratford, St. Mary's, you're still under that severe thunderstorm warning, along with Orillia, Washago, Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, then that tornado warning for Huntsville, and then that continuation of the severe thunderstorm warning north of it for South River.
And I know that Whitney and these areas up around the Algonquin Park, and again, into the Ottawa Valley under a severe thunderstorm warning. So Chalk River, Deep River, that's the Ottawa River that they're along. So again, a break in the severe thunderstorm warnings, but then we have more severe thunderstorm warnings to the east as well. So there's a lot going on here. Huntsville, Bayville, those are the areas currently under that tornado warning. Impacted areas include Huntsville itself, Arrowhead Provincial Park, Big East River Provincial Park, and J. Albert Bauer Provincial Park. These are not great places to be when there's serious storms moving in, especially if you are in a tent. A trailer is only moderately better. It's best to get into a sound structure. Usually they have a place where they have maybe a little retail store or something a little more solid. The bathrooms, if your provincial park includes bathrooms, they are usually a nice solid structure as well. So these are the places that are safer to be in versus your tent. And I'm concerned about a couple of things. The wind, yes, the lightning certainly, and the idea that trees or tree branches could fall down on a tent. That can be obviously extremely, that could injure people quickly. Okay, we've got another. Right. We're getting the warnings coming in fast and furious. Okay, so now we've got a few new places. To add to the Huntsville and Baysville, we have South River and Burkes Falls.
Right, so they've expanded that warning northward, probably seeing some more pockets of rotation on this line of storms. Is there any specific description on it?
They haven't changed it from the last one. They're still saying located from Bordeaux to Raymond, moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts is one of the main hazards, along with the potential for a tornado coming from this storm. And the same areas again, Huntsville, Arrowhead, Big East River Provincial Park, J. Albert Bauer Provincial Park. So none of the locations have changed, but we have now added, not us, but Environment and Climate Change Canada, who are responsible for issuing warnings. They have now added South River and Burkes Falls. So South River, Burkes Falls, Huntsville, and Baysville are all currently under a tornado warning. You're taking a closer look at this and what they may be looking at to say, okay, we think that this rotating storm could be producing a tornado. It's hard to tell, but there are indicators on radar that show that there is rotation. It doesn't necessarily mean that that funnel cloud's going to come down, but the potential is there, and the potential is enough for a tornado warning to be issued.
One thing we're always looking for on radar is, you see kind of bends in the lines. That's where you get those winds kind of maybe going in different directions. And when that happens, it doesn't always take too much for those winds to kind of begin to rotate. And then you get those quick spin ups along the leading edge of the line. We sometimes call these almost like QLCS tornadoes, quasi-linear convective system tornadoes. Now it's a long word, but essentially a line of storms producing tornadoes. Not your classic supercell event.
Okay, and we certainly do have a long line of storms. I mean, we've been showing this radar all along, and it's been taking up hundreds of kilometers. Let's go now to Wingham, one of the areas that Mark Robinson was headed towards. And looks like we've got some damage here, some trees down. We've been talking about this, the potential for tree limbs and branches to come down. And in Wingham, that's certainly been the case. We appreciate you showing us and sharing this video with us. And of course, that can become really dangerous really quickly, as I mentioned about being in a tent, or if you're driving, this could be the result of some powerful winds, just as a reminder. And this is what it was looking like earlier in Port Elgin on the shores of Lake Huron. A beautiful spot in the summer, as you can see, a popular spot. Some people are picking up their things and getting out, as they should. But this was earlier as that storm formed over the lake and was moving eastward. Yep, that family is on the way out. It was a hot day. I mean, we've had heat warnings in place across much of southern Ontario. Humidity in the 40s. I mean, obviously people are going to want to head to where it's cooler, including the beach. Okay, and this is our time lapse out of Sudbury, Ontario in the northeast. It starts off very calm, but things quickly change. And it's a time lapse to give you an indication of what can happen and how fast it can happen. Obviously, it didn't happen this quickly, but when you can start off very calm and suddenly the winds start to pick up, the sky starts to darken, and then eventually the rain starts to come down. And it's safest to be indoors where this camera was capturing everything that was unfolding. Okay, what's the latest? We have, okay, so the tornado warning is the same. We've got some new information though. It's located near Lake Seaseeb. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Lake Seaseeb, to 8 kilometers southwest of Port Sydney. Moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. So this is the latest coming in from Environment and Climate Change Canada. Again, the biggest hazard, tornado, 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts within the storm. Huntsville, Burkes Falls could be impacted, Arrowhead Provincial Park, Big East River Provincial Park, and J. Albert Bauer Provincial Park. So Burkes Falls new to that. So the areas, the bigger areas under that tornado warning, Huntsville, Baysville, South River, and Burkes Falls. And again, this is moving very quickly. It means that there could be a rotating storm that could produce a tornado. If you're under that tornado warning, we want you to be in a safe location. If you're in your home, get in your basement, an interior room, away from windows. You don't want to be inside. We saw those people standing on the beach in Port Elgin. They probably should have been moving a little bit quicker. Again, lightning can happen far away from the storm itself. That's always one of the biggest hazards. And there has been a lot of lightning on these storms. We've seen the images and what Mark Robinson was capturing in real time with that lightning. So very, very dangerous. And obviously if we have a tornado, that's going to cause a lot of damage. So you have to take these things seriously.
And in these kind of cases where it's hard to pinpoint that exact area of rotation just because they're just little pockets spinning, that's why if you are under that warning box, just seek shelter, because it can just appear out of nowhere sometimes when you have that kind of line rolling through your area. We can now take a jump back to that storm out in Alberta in the western part of the country. We'll zoom over there, pan over. And you can still see that red box still in effect for the city of Edmonton. They have expanded that warning further to the east, and it looks like Beaumont's still in the clear, not under that warning, just under a severe thunderstorm watch.
Okay, so in the city itself, Edmonton, under the severe thunderstorm warning, it's a couple hours earlier right now, about 4:45 in Edmonton. There's a lot of hail on this potentially, and that can be obviously a huge problem. I'm hoping if people haven't left their workplace yet, if they don't work from home and they have to do a drive, that maybe they wait this one out a little bit. Maybe you have a safe place to have your car. Maybe it's in a garage or some kind of underground parking. If it's not, well, it could be susceptible to some hail damage.
Yeah, that's not fun. I know in Alberta, they're so susceptible to these big hailstorms always popping up every summer and sometimes being quite costly. Here's a closer look at that radar. We can see that purple area. That's where the hail core is located. Oh, didn't draw in perfectly over there. So it's just north of Beaumont. It's going to be approaching Bretona, just along that, I believe it was the 612 corridor, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly double check that one right now. Sorry, it's the 216 corridor. So that storm is tracking kind of just along or south of the 216 corridor, approaching Bretona.
Okay, so take shelter if you are in this area. Severe thunderstorm warning. You don't want to mess around with this. Obviously, strong winds, heavy downpours, an indication that there's hail on this storm as well. So dangerous situation, severe thunderstorm warned right now. No tornado warnings in Alberta. We're not ruling them out today. Nothing happening right now, however. But again, severe thunderstorm warning, heavily populated area. That could be problematic if people are on the road. And there's our risk map. This is what we anticipated where the storms would be today. Again, in orange, severe possible, in red, severe likely. And I mean, we don't have Edmonton in there, but it's close enough. We said between Edmonton and Red Deer, we were likely going to see severe weather, that it was likely. And here it is kind of coming to fruition.
Where you have that little bit of extra instability and some shear. It is a supercell thunderstorm, which means it has a rotating updraft. But as we were talking about earlier, not all supercells go on to produce tornadoes. This one, it's got some spin, but its concern is just that hail, nickel to ping pong sized hail going through that area.
I'm thinking we're going to probably be seeing some video out of Edmonton at some point because, I mean, obviously with all those people, likely going to be uploading some of that to social media. That tends to happen. By the way, yeah, the severe thunderstorm watch includes Toronto. I don't know if that is new. I thought they were already in it, but perhaps not. So heat warnings in southern Ontario, severe thunderstorm watches, hashtag AB storm for the Alberta storm. Hashtag ON storm for the Ontario storms. If you put that on your videos or your updates, your reports on social media, then the people who need to see them will, the forecasters, the meteorologists. It's super helpful. It helps us tell our story, and it certainly helps those at Environment Canada tell their story.
And it looks like we have new numbers coming in for the power outages. In Grey Bruce County, you have about 22,000 customers without power. And jumping over to Simcoe County, it's looking like 12,000 customers as that line of storms just rolled through off the waters with strong winds, knocking down tree branches and in the process, knocking out power.
Okay, we've got video out of Craigleith, which is just around the Collingwood area. Again, that same storm, that same shelf cloud. We've been seeing all different angles of it, the water looking almost green. Just a lot of structure on this storm, beautiful, dramatic looking skies. The good news is when you see it over water, you have some time to get indoors. But again, lightning on this storm, very dangerous. We've seen footage already now of trees and branches down. We know that, as you mentioned, thousands are without power in some parts of Ontario as a result. It looks calm here in the distance, but obviously this is the culprit for the storms. I just want to mention again the tornado warning. It is for Huntsville, Baysville, South River, and Berks Falls, currently under a tornado warning, all part and parcel of the same line of storms. And again, this one is located anywhere from Lake Seasib to 8 kilometers southwest of Port Sydney, moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. And even when we mention these, it might already be out of date because it is moving so quickly. I normally see these storms moving, especially in the prairies, anywhere between 35 maybe to 45 or 50 kilometers per hour. But today we're talking about storms moving at 80, 85 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, I'm sure storm chasers are sometimes jealous of the prairies because, well, you can pull out your lawn chair, put it down, enjoy some soda, and just watch the storm gently making its way across the open fields. Whereas in Ontario, it's a bit more hectic. You have all the trees, you have those storms moving fast, and you have often a lot of rain accompanying these storms, making it a bit of a challenge.
Okay, I'm going to throw to a piece that I did about what to do in a tornado warning, but I have to say this, like this caveat. So I give some advice here about when you're driving not to outrun the tornado and to get out and to get into a low-lying area. Mark Robinson is saying there's new information now. They're saying you can drive away from a tornado. So if you've been watching for a while and you heard him say one thing and me say something else, take it with a grain of salt. But there's a lot of good information about what to do, especially if you're not driving and if you're in a building. So here it is. Happens. Here's how to stay safe during a tornado warning. A warning is issued when a tornado has been witnessed by a trained storm spotter or rotation has been detected in your area by radar. Often verified video evidence is enough for Environment and Climate Change Canada to sound the alarm. Oh my God! Take shelter immediately. Your best option, a basement or a storm cellar. No basement? Go to a small windowless interior room like a bathroom, a hallway, or a closet. In a high-rise building, move into a hallway or interior room on the lowest floor possible. Flying debris is the biggest danger, so stay away from windows, doors, and exterior walls. You can climb into a bathtub and crouch down low, or get under something sturdy like a table or a workbench. Cover your head and neck with your arms. If you have a heavy blanket, mattress, or helmet, use it for extra protection. If you're in a mobile home, leave it immediately. Go to the nearest sturdy building or storm shelter. If that's not possible, lie flat in a low-lying area, like a ditch. Cover your head and stay alert. If you see a tornado, do not try to drive in it. Get out of the vehicle and seek shelter in a ditch or a low-lying area. Never hide under an overpass. It's not safe. When a tornado warning hits, don't wait. Get low, stay covered, and ride it out like your life depends on it.
Oh my God!
Okay, number one, we want you in a solid structure. I know this is a popular spot for camping. A lot of people have cottages up here. Cottage is safer, obviously, than a tent. And not all cottages have basements. Interior room away from those windows. If you have a nice cottage, I know you probably have big windows because you want to look at the lake, you want to look at the woods and get that beautiful scenery. So many of them have these massive windows looking out. So we don't want to be there. We want to be in somewhere safer. Maybe an interior room like a bedroom, a closet, a bathroom would be better than being anywhere near a window.
Yeah, always good advice to keep in mind. Here's a look at that tornado warning box right now still. If you are along that Highway 11 corridor from Huntsville up to Kearney, South River, that's where you want to be seeking shelter. As you mentioned, getting away from those windows because it's never fun when some tree branches go through that.
Right, and you know, I've been in a storm where the tree came down onto the roof. Thankfully, it was one of those tall, thin trees, so it didn't do a lot of damage, but there were other cottages in the area that did see a lot of damage, and they were much larger trees that came down. So now we have Western Algonquin Park and Lake of Two Rivers added to the tornado warning, so it's moved a little farther to the east. We were talking about Algonquin Park just a moment ago. It had been under a severe thunderstorm warning. Areas to the south are, but again, Now we've got western Algonquin Park in that tornado warning, another place where people bring their tents. Often they don't even bring their cars. They leave their cars out. They're canoeing. They're really enjoying the outdoors in the wilderness, and this can be a real issue. So western Algonquin Park, Lake of Two Rivers, Huntsville, Baysville, South River, Burkes Falls are all now under the tornado warning. Okay, so now we're saying it's located from 8 kilometers northwest of Sand Lake to Bonavista, moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. So it hasn't changed how quickly it's moving. And again, we're talking about 100 kilometer per hour winds with this. In the impacted areas, Algonquin Park, Big East River Provincial Park, J. Albert Bauer Provincial Park, and Ox Tongue River Ragged Falls Provincial Park. So there's a couple of new names in there since we got the last warning out, and some that have remained in that warning. So again, this is a very fast moving storm, so these warnings are going to come and go fairly quickly, or at least the areas that are being added to the storm or to the actual warning areas get dropped behind it. And some people get into the clear fairly quickly because it's moving so fast. But if you're not taking shelter, you don't have a lot of time either.
Yeah, you want to act fast. And if you are going to be out camping, you always want to be aware of your surroundings, because in the event of a tornado warning, you might not have too much you can do, but what you can do is control the area you're in. So look at the trees around you. If you see that they're rotten and maybe not in the best shape, maybe move your tent somewhere where you are surrounded by stronger trees, or maybe even an area with not too many trees, just so you reduce the amount of potential for things to be turned into flying projectiles.
That's right. Nice clear area if you can. I know it's hard to find, but that's why they have these clearings for these tents, because you don't want a tree to come down on your tent, but sometimes you're tying things to the trees, so you need them for that purpose. All right, looking at our radar now. Again, it looks like 11, not so bad. This line of storms has moved beyond Highway 11, except for the north.
Yeah, it looks like Sundridge, you're still kind of caught in that line of storms on the north end of it, so you may still see some strong winds. But south of Sundridge down to Huntsville, that line of storms has already pushed to your east. Okay, so some good news there. Again, under the tornado warning, western Algonquin Park, Lake of Two Rivers, Huntsville, Baysville, South River, and Burkes Falls. This line of storms moves all the way south into southwestern Ontario. We know that most people will be impacted. Even in the GTA, the storms may not be as strong by the time it hits the GTA. It'll be later at night. We won't have as much daylight at that point in time. We're hoping that the storms will have weakened at that time, but it's moving fairly quickly. And we're thinking in about an hour or so, this line of storms will be closer to, say, the 401, that corridor. Yeah, it looks like, in fact, already we may have seen some weakening along the line of storms. It's not looking as impressive on radar. I know earlier it was like one long line of red, but now we're starting to see little pockets where it's just maybe a couple sprinkles. But then there are some other pockets that have heavy storms going through. Right now, heavier pocket is rolling right through the city of Barrie. You can see those reds, probably some strong winds. And if you are out on the waters of Lake Simcoe still, maybe it's a good time to start turning that boat back to shore and taking a bit of a break before things clear up once again.
Okay, we've got our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. He's been on this storm. He's kind of in and out, though. We're a little concerned about whether or not we're going to get him on. Yeah, we're going to wait a few minutes because we're having a few technical issues, but that's what happens when you're on the road, and we're hoping to connect with him soon enough. But let's go now to Owen Sound a little bit earlier. Owen Sound, one of the areas impacted by power outages. This is a look at the shelf cloud, the leading edge of the storm as it was moving in. So many people capturing this. It's hard not to. I mean, you look up into the sky and you see this, you're going to pick up your phone, you're going to capture it. It's really impressive looking. Now to Wingham after the storm, some damage done, some very strong winds, enough to peel off branches, off trees. You know, everything is still heavily leaved. So we've got all the leaves on the trees coming down. And again, this will be a cleanup for someone. You're not going to be able to get past that road with all of the branches on it. And that's why it's scary to drive in a storm like this. This is why we're concerned about some of the areas that are under that severe thunderstorm warning and certainly the tornado warning, because they are heavily treed. This is a part of the country that is very much like this. It's not all city, certainly down towards the southwest, yes, but a lot of the areas impacted are places people go to retreat in the summer.
And that's why it's always a good idea to have some way to receive those warnings so you can take action, hopefully before that storm moves into your area. Have maybe a radio or even a walkie-talkie you can tune into the government channels so that you can receive those Environment Canada forecasts and alerts. Bring up the radar right now just to zoom in on that tornado-warned storm. Give it a second to load, but it looks like that area of rotation is kind of east of Burke Falls over, like as you mentioned, Sand Lake is one of the places they're keeping an eye on.
Okay, we have our storm hunter back now. We seem to have a better connection with him. Mark, where are you now?
Just a second.
Mark, can you hear me? I know he's driving and paying attention to the storm, and hopefully he's not going to swear on the air. Mark, do we have you? We certainly have his view, and we can see that that cloud is black. I'm not sure exactly where he is. He's been chasing this storm all the way along. He was starting in Point Clark and made his way down towards Wingham as well. I'm not sure where he is at the moment, but I guess he can't hear me, Robin. Is that the case? Okay. Okay, and he's, I don't know, he's talking to himself, but that's okay because oh, all right. So we've got some information. He's headed towards Kitchener-Waterloo, and that's where the storm is headed as well. Of course, once we're talking about Kitchener-Waterloo, we're talking about a more densely populated urban center versus where we've been with this storm. Most of the places have been, cottage areas. Certainly people have homes in these towns and villages as well, but for a lot of folks, they're getting away from the city and they're going into areas with lakes so that they can spend their vacation time. But once we're talking about Kitchener-Waterloo, now we're getting past 7 o'clock. Most people should be home if we're going with the traditional 9 to 5. That's good news. Hopefully more people are off the road, but not necessarily because it's not exactly late. It's a Thursday night in the summer and people have places to go.
Yeah, why not get out and enjoy, but maybe hold off on some of those plans, especially along that 401 corridor until the activity has passed. Good news is that the line of storms has weakened quite a bit, especially through Orangeville, Shelburne, Alliston. It really fell apart. It was going strong and then poof, it disappeared.
Okay, good. This is what we want to see. But then
if you are east of Washago in Minden, you have still a fairly strong segment of that storm approaching. Also, now for Churchill, Innisfil, you have a strong section of the storm that's pushing now east of Barrie and will be crossing across Lake Simcoe. So if you are out on the waters there, just a heads up, strong winds on the way. And then it looks like maybe the strongest part of the storm is between Arthur and just north of Mitchell, where we see lots of those reds and purples.
Yeah, and that's an indication that we may be seeing some hail with this storm. When we're looking at the radar, you see those darkest reds. That's usually the indication that there's heavy rain coming down. That's a storm. When we're looking at an everyday radar, you're looking at the green. You're like, okay, rain's coming my way. Maybe I should go out now, or maybe I should go out later, or maybe I shouldn't wash my car. So you're looking at the greens and you know when it's going to rain. But when we're talking about these colors, the dark reds, certainly the purples, that's something much more severe. That's a reason why you should be indoors. It's a good reason to have an app. The Weather Network app certainly has a radar on it. Pay close attention before you go out to see where the storm is and which way it's going. It's a really good indication, moment by moment, to know what's happening.
They always have that meteorological literacy on tap. So that way, even if you don't maybe have access to a stream or something, you can open your app and see where the storm's going and go about your day with confidence, knowing that you will stay safe.
Okay, let's go near Gravenhurst now for this particular video. where we can see those powerful winds in torrents right on the water. Again, one of those beautiful cottages I'm talking about. Maybe this is your home, but it looks like a cottage setup when we have the lake right there and the deck. And the water is getting pretty rough. I'm glad you decided to stay in and off the water. The flag taking a beating as well with those strong winds. We've been talking about wind gusts upwards of 100 kilometers per hour, especially in those tornado-warned areas. But this is the kind of wind that will do some damage. We saw some evidence of that in Wingham, Ontario, where branches were down as a result of some strong winds. A lot of lightning on these storms as well. Good news is, as you were mentioning, some of it is falling apart. Some areas won't see much at all. Those people will wonder why they were in a warning, but that is the nature of summer storms. Some areas get hit very hard and others not at all. We had a huge line, so we anticipated a lot of people would be impacted by these storms. But once they start to weaken and break up a little bit, it'll be more of a whack-a-mole situation.
Yeah, and sometimes for storm chasers, this is where things maybe aren't so fun when you see that line of storms headed your way and then all of a sudden one segment goes to your west, the other one to your east, and you look up and there's barely a drop of rain.
Yep, that can happen. If it's your home, though, you're probably not disappointed at all. You know, it's like, okay, the storm went all around me. I don't know how many times I've had that tweeted to me. The storm went around me again. You know, I said, it's not just you. It happens to a lot of folks. Or some people are like, why am I constantly getting hit with the rain? It's not, you know, but it's hit and miss, as we say. This is a huge line of storms. Obviously, there are some areas that are still being impacted with severe weather. We still do have a tornado warning. Again, the areas western Algonquin Park, Lake of Two Rivers, Huntsville, Baysville, South River, and Berks Falls. Again, this was a severe thunderstorm warning for western Algonquin Park, and then it was upgraded to a tornado warning. That's what tends to happen. If you're lucky, you'll have a severe thunderstorm warning first and then a tornado warning. Sometimes you'll have a tornado watch. It doesn't always happen, but it's just a good indicator if you're already under a severe thunderstorm warning that you should be indoors. Let's go to our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. Mark, I've got you now. I'm hearing, and you're headed towards Kitchener-Waterloo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me the latest.
No, I'm actually headed towards Mitchell.
Okay.
And I want to show you in just a second. It's probably not all that exciting to look at right now, but okay, nobody behind me, and I'm just going to turn the car a little bit so that you can see what I'm seeing. Yet another big old shelf. But what is interesting about this one, Kim, and I'm going to jump out of the car so I can show you a couple of things that are kind of quite very interesting on this one. Wow, right back into that warm temperatures. So Kim, you can probably see me here. So right here, there's your shelf. So there's the shelf right there. But what is interesting is the gust front is actually sort of pulled back right into here. So this is an inflow region right here. So if we're going to see a spin up, which is possible, and we are seeing some large hail on this storm that is coming towards me a little further down in there. This is all the convergence zone. This is where everything's coming together right back in there, and it is starting to build down towards the ground just a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to see if I can get in a little closer to that, a little tighter in, and it's still moving fairly quickly, but I think at this point, no matter where I am, I think I'm going to get labeled with some big hail. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay, thanks, Mark. It's good to see what's happening in real time, in real life. We're looking at the radar here, and I know that you've zoomed in right to the spot that Mark is. While he's talking to us, Dylan's always right on the radar, finding out exactly where we are geography-wise, who's getting hit the hardest. There's Mitchell on the map. Between the 2 8s and then to the south and west, we have the purple.
Yeah. Let's see if I can break out the marker. Oh, it jumped to the wrong place, but that area of rotation seems to be developing just around Staffa, south of Dublin, on the southwestern side of Highway 23 and Highway 8. That's where Mark is looking, where he sees that inflow region beginning to develop as that storm sort of wraps that outflow boundary into itself. Sorry, now let's get back there. Yeah. Over in Mitchell, and now let's put a keyframe so it doesn't run away on me once again. So
shout out to Mitchell. which is the birthplace of our chief meteorologist, Chris Scott. He's very familiar with storms, grew up with them, and this is a prime location for severe thunderstorms and snow too.
That as well.
Yes.
In just a few short weeks, maybe we'll be, or make it more like months, we'll be talking about lake effect snow.
Bite your tongue.
Too soon?
Bite your tongue, Dylan Kakuda. Okay, so there's the circled area in purple. Again, if you're looking at a radar, we're giving you a little radar 101 here.
And then over here we have Dublin, and then Staffa over in this little circle. I know it's getting a little bit messy. And then Fullerton should be just around here, just to give you some reference points. And then this road right here, that's Highway 23.
Okay, and this storm is moving in that direction. So if you're in the line, in the path of this storm, this is the time you want to take cover. You don't want to be dealing with hail if you don't have to. If you can get your car covered, that would be great. At this point in time, I know a lot of people too worry about their delicate plants with hail, and worst case scenario to crops, because that's obviously worth a lot of money. Things like tomatoes, for example, can get heavily damaged by hail. And there's a look at some hail right on this particular map. We highlight it in purple, and it gives you an idea where the hail is in this storm.
Yeah, this is using those radars to really see what's going on in the storms. When we start to get radar returns that maybe aren't reflecting off kind of objects of the same size and shape, because, you know, hailstones can have some funky shaped spikes on them. They're also larger than raindrops. That's how the radar knows that maybe it's not just all liquid precipitation in this kind of cell.
It's got to be a pretty heavy duty raindrop in order to look like this on the radar. I know another place we wanted to look was just outside of Ottawa.
Yeah, let's bring up Ottawa right now.
Take a peek over there and see what's going on. Obviously, a huge chunk of Ontario is being impacted by these storms. It's been extremely hot the last 24 hours or so. Didn't really cool down in the overnight hours. In fact, I saw the temperature rise between midnight and 2 a.m., which is a little unusual. Went from about 19 to 20 degrees, at least where I was in Hamilton. But again, it's a perfect setup when you have this kind of instability in the atmosphere, this heat and humidity. Storms are likely as long as you have a trigger, and today we certainly do.
All right, we're moving over to eastern Ontario now. You can see Ottawa is just over. Give it a little second to load.
Yeah, so this is all through the Ottawa Valley right now, Renfrew and Shawville, south of Eganville. These are areas now being impacted by the storm. Ottawa proper, not so much yet, but the Ottawa Valley is. So again, this is another part of the line of storms broken off from the part in the southwest, but obviously very impactful. And we were talking about the tornado warnings in places like Western Algonquin Park, Lake of Two Rivers, Huntsville, Baysville, South River, Berks Falls. Right now, those are the only areas under the tornado warning, but all of these regions, severe thunderstorms.
And we'll have to keep an eye on these storms in particular, because as you mentioned, it's kind of a broken line. It's not just a line, so they do have somewhat individual cells. And when you get these individual cells, they have a better opportunity to take advantage of that shear in the atmosphere and maybe put on a little bit of spin. You can even see, if I draw over here, a little bit of a hook shape to it. That indicates some rotation. So far, nothing to be concerned about, but we're keeping our eye on these storms.
Okay, so anyone traveling along 41 in that area is probably getting into some impactful weather. We're going to go back now to our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. Uh-oh, I'm hearing him say uh-oh, which makes me a little nervous. What's going on, Mark?
Kim, I'm just trying to get ahead of this line here, and I am getting caught by it. So you'll have to excuse me just for a second while I try to keep the car on the road, because I am just being blasted by those winds from the side. I got to keep going here, because like if there is any sort of rotation in the storm, it's going to be just to my right. So I'm sorry, Kim, just give me a second, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting a wind shift. I'm gonna have to.
All right, we'll let you
Hold
go.
on.
Get into a safe spot.
Sorry.
Yes, I don't want you to
just
do anything dangerous. You certainly don't need to be broadcasting to us if you're in a precarious situation. Okay, so we'll check back in with Mark. I mean, I'm sure people are watching going, okay, no, stay on him. But no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna let him get to where he needs to be. 2 hands on the wheel, not talking to us and paying attention to what he's doing. I know he knows what he's doing, but I don't want to put him into any kind of scarier situation than he already is. When I look at this map, I mean, obviously we see the radar, but we really see that contrast in temperatures.
Yeah, look at that 401 corridor where you see temperatures in those 30s. I know we had humidex values climbing into those low to mid 40s, making it feel quite toasty. But as we head further north and then cross onto the other side of the cold front, look at that, Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie. 18 degrees in the Sault and 21 in Sudbury with gray skies. Not feeling a lot like July anymore in the span of 24 hours.
No, certainly not. But I feel like people who are sweltering are probably saying, you know what, 18 and 21 looks really good right now. This is a little bit too hot for me. We're not expecting a massive cool down with the passage of this front in southern Ontario. It'll still be hot and humid, but I think today is probably the worst of it for a few days.
Yeah, that humidity does back off just a little bit as we head into Friday. Instead of humidex values in those 40s, it's going to be more like those mid to upper 30s, which is still hot by any standard, but a little bit of relief.
But this really has been a summer of the 30-degree weather, 30 plus. We're getting more days than average, and we're in July. This is traditionally the hottest week of summer, the 3rd week in July, and it's proving to be that in a few places, but certainly not everywhere. I mean, Calgary would argue with me, it certainly has not been too hot here.
It's funny because at the start of the summer, we had a bit of a stretch where we were struggling to break above that 20-degree mark. I don't remember if you remember how cool it was to start the summer, but then we had that pattern shift and got that unchecked Gulf low pumping into our region and sending those temperatures soaring along with the humidity.
Yeah, things really changed between May and June, that's for sure. Okay, and with all this heat, that we pay a price because the atmosphere is unstable and then the severe weather can come in. With this juicy atmosphere, we tend to get heavy rainfall that can possibly lead to flash flooding. In this case, we have seen quite a bit of rain, and here's a look at the estimated rainfall over the last 6 hours or so. A lot of that rain over Huron and Georgian Bay.
Yeah, you can see when you get those darker greens and also even those yellows, that's when you're maybe pushing into that 30 to 50 millimeter mark. Most areas, it looks like on the shores of Lake Huron, around Kincardine and Southampton, maybe in that 10 to 20 millimeters at most. As we were talking, this line of storms is moving pretty quick, so it's in your area and then it's out of your area in just a few minutes.
If this line had stalled at all, that's when we would have been into that flash flooding scenario. But because it moves so fast, yes, it can cause damage with the wind gusts, but the flooding damage is far less likely because we don't have all that rain falling in the same place. We have seen training thunderstorms. We saw what happened in Quebec with that. We're hoping that this is not going to be the case. Let's get it in and get it out and then keep on moving. But if you're in the path of the storm, if you're in that severe thunderstorm warning, and certainly if you're in the tornado warning, you're going to want to stay indoors. As much as you may love watching a good storm come in, we don't advise it. These storms have had a lot of lightning on them, and certainly we've seen tree damage already with these storms too.
And I'll bring up a map to show you the lightning strikes over the last 2 hours. You can see those yellow spots. Those are the lightning strikes on top of these massive storms working through the area. And I'll bring up another satellite image just to show you the scale of this system. Get a second over here. So this satellite map is kind of a combination of visible and satellite. Essentially those red tops, that's where those thunderstorms are as those clouds shoot up high into the atmosphere, and you can see activity all the way from Quebec down through the Midwest and into the southern plains, extending into the Texas Panhandle.
When it's this color, it's essentially picking up the cold air, which is way up in the higher atmosphere. As we know, it's been so hot. So you have to go pretty far up for it to be cold, and that's how high these clouds are rising. So that's what this satellite is picking up.
And with the satellite, you can also see where that Gulf flow is. I don't know if I can have time to pull up a little marker to show you what's going on. Trusty marker again. Bring the satellite loop a little bit forward. then that's probably our boundary where we have that cold front beginning to push south. And then from the Gulf, that's where all that fuel is just shooting northward and keeping those storms going.
Okay, it's the clash of the heat and the cooler air. It's not exactly cold, but and this is the result. This is the kind of cloud that forms along a boundary. This is the leading edge of the storm. The dramatic shelf cloud that was spotted in Port Elgin and so many other places along the shores of Lake Huron. The storm moved right across the lake, and if you're in one side of it, you can certainly see what's going on. There's some people hightailing it out of there. Most people should have done that because look at the damage done, left behind. This is in Wingham, Ontario. Powerful winds, strong enough to knock down trees, knock off branches as well. And that is going to be cleanup for someone, get that stuff off the road. That may be, yeah, I guess that's a road. I wasn't sure if it was a long driveway or not, but people may have some property damage to clean up after the fact with this storm. And there's another look at it in Owen Sound, a spot that had numerous power outages, 22,000 or so without power. And now we'll go to Edmonton, which has been under a severe thunderstorm warning. And here's a look at what the skies over Edmonton have been looking like. So we've had some volatility there, some possible rotation, no tornado warnings, but the storms have been ongoing around the Edmonton area as well. Tornado warning in Ontario has ended for Huntsville, Baysville, South River, and Burkes Falls. So we do have some good news there. But the tornado warning remains in place for Western Algonquin Park and Lake of Two Rivers. So those areas still under the tornado warning. But now you can, breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief in Huntsville, Baysville, South River, and Burkes Falls. This line of several thunderstorms is located from Western Algonquin Park to Halls Lake. Again, still moving at a clip. It's moving northeast at 80 kilometers per hour. Locations impacted include Algonquin Park, Western Algonquin Park, Marion Lake, Briley Lake. I'm not sure. They're having some issues with their printer here. And by their printer, I mean ECCC. It has question marks instead of letters. Misty Lake, Timberwolf Lake, Potter Lake, Tea Lake, Canoe Lake, Tom Thompson Lake, Little Doe Lake, Joe Lake, Little Joe Lake, Trout Lake, Smoke Lake, Burnt Root Lake, Longer Lake, Red Pine Lake, Cache Lake or Cache Lake, and Whitefish Lake. A few lakes.
Yeah, quite a few lakes. Let's
All right,
see if...
we're going to go to Mark now.
All right.
We'll check on your radar in just a moment. Let's go to Mark Robinson. Okay, Mark, you were in a couple of precarious situations. How do you feel right now? Did you get to where you needed to be?
Oh, no, I'm fine, Kim, but what happened there, which was really interesting, is that we had the winds coming from one direction, and then I was looking up the road, and they were coming from almost completely opposite direction. That is not good.
No.
That means you're definitely in an area of rotation. Nothing on the ground or anything like that, but it definitely was like, oh, okay, I got to hold on to the wheel because I'm getting the car bounced all over the place. Now, I'm sort of right near the town of Gads Hill, and I'm just sort of watching this one come towards me. Looks like a lot of large hail on this storm in here. And so I'm just going to pull up to this stop sign here, flip on my my hazard so people know that I'm stopped, and I'm sort of absolutely stopped at this point. And I'm going to show you, if you look there, I'm looking sort of to the south, and you can see that almost a line of cloud right there. Like that is the front of the gust front right there. So just amazing to see. And then when I sort of point the camera this way, I'm looking almost to the north at this point. You can kind of see the grayness. Now, it doesn't translate well into the camera, but the color is quite interesting because the color is quite gray out there, and definitely telling me that there's a lot of hail. So I'm trying to get this focused a little bit here. Always a problem because technology. But yeah, there you go. Someone's going up that well. Now, I have seen a couple of lightning bolts quite close, so that means that this storm is still very active. And I'll just point it out towards the west. I'm sort of looking almost due west at this point. I'm just getting absolutely blasted with rain and wind. But there you go. That's the core of the storm right there. And just so that we don't get absolutely soaked and get the lens all messed up. I'm going to close the window right there, but you can definitely see that whole thing coming right towards me. And as I said, there likely is some big hail in there, so we'll see what happens. Now, whether that hail core actually makes it to me or not, we will see. But my fingers are crossed. I'll get some interesting hail. Oh, I just heard the first smack of a hailstone, just on the front of the car there. I'm just seeing if I can see anything on the ground yet, but no hail yet. So it might have been just an errant hailstone that quite often happens. You'll get the hailstone sort of fired out ahead, and I'm just going to point the camera down there, and yeah, you can see there's no hail coming yet, but definitely lots of lightning in here. So it's something I'm going to be watching for the next little while as the storm. I'm probably going to let it roll over me, and then just get up to the southwest and see if what it's doing on the far southwestern side of the storm. And oh, there you go. I'm going to show you just before I jump. You can kind of see the wind beginning to come in pretty strong right now. You can see the corn getting bounced around. I'm just going to do a quick wipe of the lens, and then you can kind of see there. Oh, lightning bolt right ahead of me. No matter which way I point, the lightning happens somewhere else. This is how it works.
Of course.
But there you go. You can actually see those. Yeah, you can see a little bit of those. Those rain curtains we were talking about earlier. Oh, car is getting bounced fairly good right now. I'm just going to point it forward, and you can kind of see the wind right there, and it doesn't look too bad, but this isn't the core of the storm. The core of the storm is still a little ways back, and that'll change things, I think, quite a bit when the actual core gets here. I'm actually able to stop because I'm stopped right now. I can actually take a look at the radar and see what's going on. But yeah, right here is where the storm is the strongest. So,
sometimes you see.
I'm going to see what happens. So.
Mark, sometimes you see some green in the cloud if there's hail, but you're saying that it's just gray. That's what I'm seeing on your camera, but I don't know if you're seeing any kind of indication of green in those clouds.
A little bit. I mean, it's definitely got a little bit of it. The color is always off a little bit on when it comes to cameras, so it does look a little bit more green than it actually is here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can just see on radar that there's some pretty strong. There's some indications of some big hail in there, but no indications, really strong indications at this point of tight rotation. So I think I'm okay for now. But those are always, you gotta be careful. Gotta always keep your head on a swivel and watching the storm structure as best you can.
Before I let you go, can you repeat again the place you are at? Maybe I can get Dylan to bring it up at some point. Remind me again where you are.
Yeah, well, I'm Gads Hill is where I'm close to. It's a town I'm close to. It's near Mitchell, if that helps.
That does help. We were looking at the radar around that place, and it's all purple. So, you're right to think that there's hail in your vicinity because it seems like it's very close by. Okay, thank you, Mark. We'll be checking in with you shortly. And again, there is the radar, and we were talking about the purple on the radar is an indicator of hail.
Yeah, when you get those strong returns, you get those larger raindrops, and in some cases, such as this, it is an indication of hail. We'll go over to some viewer questions right now. Latest one coming in. How will this impact the GTA into Belleville?
Okay, so that's a little swath. Someone's going east, it seems. So the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, and then to Belleville.
We'll start off by just showing where that line of storms is right now, so you can see. Looks like it has picked up a little bit once again, filling in that kind of empty area just south of Orangeville. So right now that line of storms extending from Beaverton, south of Sutton, into Newmarket, Bolton, Inglewood, Erin, Fergus, Elmira, Milverton. That's where that line of storms is currently. So it is starting to get closer and closer to the GTA. And right now the time is just about 7:30. Now we'll bring up one of the forecast models to see where it thinks that line of storms is going to be going. Right, bring it in closer for now.
So this is model data, and this is showing where the models think that the storms will be, unless something drastic happens, because changes can happen in the atmosphere, and this can break up or it can strengthen and move quicker, but this gives us at least an idea of timing.
And it looks like the line of storms might be running a little bit ahead of schedule compared to the models right now, because this model is for about 7:45 p.m. And you can see that the line of storms is a little bit further west than what it was just on radar. And this is one of the things meteorologists always have to do, is compare reality to what the forecast models say, just so that you don't go too overboard looking at one solution.
Okay, there's Belleville to the east. The storm moving into Richmond Hill, the city of Toronto, looks around 9:30. Looks like it breaks up right around the city. We don't know if that will actually happen. Sometimes it does. It moves right around the city, but areas like Richmond Hill and Oshawa looks like they may be on target.
And what I think may actually be happening right there is that lake breeze is leading to those storms quickly firing up once again as they hit that boundary, which is why we're seeing them re-intensify. But then once they cross on the other side of that lake breeze boundary, they start to lose steam as they interact with slightly more stable air.
Okay. So again, by 10 p.m. or so, these should have wrapped up, at least around the GTA, but we can't 100% say that because there is another cluster of storms that looks like it's moving in late into the night, possibly again around the GTA, Hamilton, Niagara area as well. So it's not over yet. This is obviously a very unstable air mass, a lot of heat, a lot of humidity, and it doesn't take much for a storm to fire up.
And I guess in general, just if you are from the GTA through to Belleville, probably that 8 to 10 p.m. range, that's when you have your best chance of seeing any storms. And I can bring up that instability map from earlier to show you those lake breezes that I'm talking about. Let's just click into it right now, clear the lines for the time being. And on this map, those yellows and oranges, that indicates where we have more thunderstorm energy in play, which means you get those bigger clouds rocketing up into the sky. And then where we have those winds converging, we have one boundary coming kind of off of Lake Erie, pushing over to Lake Simcoe, and then another one off of Lake Ontario. And so right around here is where we saw those storms re-intensifying, which seems to sit right on top of one of those confluence boundaries. That's why we always look for these, because they can help kick those storms right up, even though it seemed like everything was already dying.
Okay, as promised, we said that this could happen. It's like a little bit of a booster shot, right?
Yeah.
When things were already rolling along. We have some good news. Tornado warnings have now come to an end. So the tornado warning that was for Western Algonquin Park and Lake of Two Rivers has now ended. We still have quite a few severe thunderstorm warnings. Anything you see on this map in red is a severe thunderstorm warning. Anything in yellow is a watch. So the watch indicating that, yeah, conditions are favorable for storms. A warning meaning these are the storms. They're happening or they are imminent. So no more tornado warnings at the moment. Tornado warnings coming from the storms that we've been watching. It's been a linear set of storms, but every now and again you can get something spinning up. So once you see that rotation on the radar, that's when you're likely going to get a warned storm, a tornado warning specifically.
And some of the good news, as this cold front continues to push south, we can see those severe thunderstorm watches beginning to drop as well for areas through the Bruce Peninsula, even into Parry Sound. Nope. We have a little bit of a red box extending south into Brampton.
And Mississauga, it looks like. Keep going. Straitsville, Long Branch, all of these are, okay, so not Toronto yet, but Mississauga certainly. Pearson Airport looks like it's under it. Malton, Brampton, you were mentioning too. Yes, so there are areas now in the GTA that are currently under a severe thunderstorm warning. Maybe we should go back to the radar and see what's
let's go back to the
what's going on.
radar. Some storms causing trouble once again.
Yeah, we have to go north and then we have to zoom in south.
Hopefully this mouse lasts through the stream without breaking down.
Oh no, is that a possibility? Okay.
Well,
You're just
we
working
need to
it so
issue
hard.
a forecast for this. Is the mouse going to break down?
Yeah, that's a good question. Will there be a warning? Okay, so this is a look at, is this up to date now? This is what I'm curious
Yeah,
about.
this is the latest
732?
radar scan. I
Okay.
can just confirm with another radar program I have. Newmarket, Bolton. Yeah, this is up to date.
Okay, well, obviously they are being proactive over at Environment Climate Change Canada, so they know that this line of storms only has one way to go, and if it is going to be moving into these high populated areas like Brampton, like Mississauga. I mean, you know, Mississauga, I believe about 750,000 people live there. Brampton's at least 500,000 people, if I'm correct. And so, yeah, this is an impactful storm. Severe thunderstorm warnings, no tornado warnings at the moment in Ontario. And you can see, I mean, just so many people about to be impacted. Obviously, earlier on, it was mainly cottage country, these beautiful places along Lake Huron up towards Georgian Bay in Owen Sound. And now we're getting into those urban areas where we have a lot of people on the roads and just people living much closer together.
And maybe one of the good things about the urban areas is that we get a lot more videos and ground reports from these storms because there are just more people. So if you have time and if it's safe to do so, why not set up a time lapse, let the camera just roll. You can go about your day and just record that storm rolling in, and then use hashtags on X such as hashtag #ONStorm, hashtag #OnStorm, and even tag us at the Weather Network if you want to be featured on air.
Yep, you can do that too. A lot of people see these storms coming in from these high-rise apartments in Toronto, and they can see the storm coming from far away. We often see those kinds of time lapses when you have, you know, the CN Tower and maybe in the foreground. It can be pretty dramatic, and this storm has proved to be a really interesting looking storm with this shelf cloud imagery that we've seen with it. The thing is, though, it's going to start to get dark, not just yet, but it feels like it's been dark the whole time when we've been watching Mark Robinson out on the road. I think we're going to go to him. Our storm hunter has seemed like it's been so gray, so dark the entire time. No, we're not? Okay, well, oh, there he is. Okay, so this is his live camera right now as he drives into southern Ontario. Mark, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm right near Gads Hill right now, and you can see just the power of this line as it's coming in. This is where sort of the hail was supposed to be. Looks like we lost the hail. Definitely kept the winds. Okay, branch just went down. Branch just got ripped off a tree just down the road from me here. So the branch came off there. I'm not in any place that I'm going to get hit by debris, but definitely if you sort of look through the camera there, you can see how strong those winds are. You know, as this storm core dumps. I'm going to pull off the camera off the mount like I like to do, and I'll point it sort of down the road there, and you can get an idea of how strong. Like look at the trees getting like absolutely hit right there. And that right there, so you can actually see, I'm going to zoom up, that branch right there on the ground came off of this tree right here when the initial line sort of began to push through. But these winds, I expect these winds may actually ramp up a little bit as the core begins to come over top of me a bit more. But for now, I mean, it may not get stronger than this. It's hard to say sometimes with messy storms like this. I'm going to pull up just a little bit so I can turn the camera just a little bit, and you can get an idea of how strong the winds are. Usually I like to be close to some trees so you can sort of see how strong the winds are. My guess at this point is these winds are running about maybe 40-50 kilometers an hour, maybe at this point dropping a little bit more, as we sort of come in and out of these separate cores. But if I take the camera and I point it way over here, you can actually see the rain curtains going by. So you definitely some strong winds over there, and that may hit me in just a second. Because like quite often it's extremely variable. So you'll have some storms, or you'll have some areas that get hit with really, really high winds, and other areas that don't see too much. I may be in the area where you're not going to see too much at this point. I may have to move and try and get my...
Oh, and we just lost him just like that. Oh, no, he's back again. Okay, you move to where you need to be, and we will be checking in with you. That's our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, live here as we track these storms across Ontario, southern and eastern Ontario, both being impacted. And we have our next question. There we go, that's a little quieter now. What do we expect for Toronto? Toronto is not in the warning, I don't think yet, but certainly west in Mississauga, it is under the warning. So that's how close the warnings are for the city of Toronto. But certainly in the GTA, those warnings are popping up.
You can see those warnings are right on our doorstep. The city of Toronto, you're still under a severe thunderstorm watch, which means we're still we don't have that imminent threat, but we have the potential maybe later on. You can already see those red boxes just to our north and west as that line of storms continues to track further south. So at this point, it looks like there's a pretty good chance that you are going to get some lightning and thunder from this line of storms. Whether it's going to be severe is still yet to be determined, especially as we cross to the south side of the lake breeze. Things could change quite quickly, potentially weakening, but we have to wait and see how that plays out. I'll bring the radar up right now. And I should probably change the keyframe on this crop so I don't have to keep on panning from place to place. Here's that line of storms. Currently, it's north of the city from Inglewood to Bolton, King City, Aurora, Newmarket, and just around Uxbridge, which means it's still a bit of a ways away from the downtown Toronto core. So if you are maybe outside enjoying a walk or at a park, maybe have some plan in place in the event that a warning is issued so that you can seek shelter and get it out of the way if that does happen.
I'm thinking this may mean that there might not be as much construction at night on the highways because they tend to not do it when we have storms coming through. That might be a bonus for us. Okay, so there's the line of storms. Again, City of Toronto not under the severe thunderstorm warning, is under the severe thunderstorm watch. Brampton, Mississauga under the severe thunderstorm warning this hour, and then anywhere to the north along this line. We have had tornado warnings. There are none active at the moment. But we have our Mark Robinson, who is our storm hunter, who has been in this storm, following this storm for the last almost 3 hours. Okay, Mark, I can hardly see anything beyond these trees, so I'm glad you're pulled over.
Yeah, Kim, I'm just I'm taking a look at I just moved down the road. Like, I'm not even that far down the road, maybe 30 seconds down the road. And yeah, the wind is really picked up. Let me take you over to here. You can see an old barn right here. Whoa, there we go. And you can sort of see the winds coming off the barn there. Look at that. Really sort of hitting that. You can see there actually is wind damage to the barn, but that is, I'm sure, quite old. But yeah, lots of lightning in here. So yeah, this is close to the core of the storm. And you're just looking down the road here. There's a large agricultural piece of equipment coming, and he is going to go right past just as I zoom up. But you can definitely see that, yeah, look at that. Look at that. The winds are really picking up. I'm just seeing some debris coming down, which is just basically leaves and stuff coming off of trees. So we're not seeing structural. Oh, Kim, we are seeing structural damage. Ugh.
Uh-oh.
The roof is starting to peel on the barn right there. See the roof right there?
Yep.
Starting to peel. That was not there, so you can see it beginning to peel a bit right there. And that's, again, it's an older barn. Whoa! The car's getting bounced real hard. Look. Oh, then there's also, I'm going to pull back a little bit so you can see, but there's chunks coming off of the side of the large grain silo right there. So that's gotten pulled off, and yeah, you can really see that we are seeing that little piece, that little shingle right there, getting really sort of, that poor piece of shingle or that poor piece of sheathing is getting pulled off, and it may go flying off the barn, or it may hold on. That's going to be the $1 million question. Will it hold on? Luckily, this looks like an older barn that isn't sort of in active use, so that's why I can make light of it just a little bit. But yeah, the winds, though, definitely really ramping up right now.
And the problem is, too, if that goes flying, it could hit someone or a car or cause issues in another way. I know you were showing some branches on the ground and right beside the road. And yeah, easily people could be driving and get hit by something in winds like these.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're lucky here that anything past, you can zoom up over there, you can see that's all field back there. So probably not going to hit anything. But you are correct. On some of the other areas, we have large branches come down. You absolutely could run into real trouble. And my camera's getting a little bit wet, so I'm gonna have to close the window here because we are getting a little bit of a wind shift, and now everything is absolutely soaked inside the car, including me. So these are the things that happen sometimes. But right now, you can actually see the winds have ramped down a little bit as that core passes over me. We are still seeing more storms north of Mitchell and sort of over towards Hensall, Exeter area. And then another clump of storms off to on the one side of Huron. Wow, Kim, look at that. We're almost nothing, like the winds went to almost nothing.
Wow.
That quickly. And that's because we've just passed through the other side of the storm. Yeah, that was, this was sort of, if there was going to be hail, I'm right in where their hail was going to happen, but it looks like the hail sort of died off before it could get to me. But we did get some quite interesting winds. I'm going to see if I can get ahead of this storm and head down towards Woodstock, because I think these storms are going to continue on.
Well, thanks, Mark. I think you gave people in Toronto a really good view of the storm. Toronto has just been added to the severe thunderstorm warning. So this line of storm continues to move. We didn't know it was one of those will they or won't they. Toronto was under severe thunderstorm watch, and now everywhere along the shore of Lake Ontario there. So from Mississauga eastward, including Toronto, Scarborough, Ajax, Pickering, Oshawa, North York under that severe thunderstorm warning. To the west in Oakville, Burlington, still in the watch, not in the warning. Hamilton, not in the warning just yet, but that could change. We've continued to see these warnings spread south and east, and I mean, if the line continues that way, we may see warnings farther south, but right now the stronger stuff is a little farther north.
Yeah, we'll jump over to the radar right now to show you where that line of storms is located. And I said I was going to change the keyframe on this, but apparently I forgot again. So do it this time right on air. Give it a little second to load. And the line of storms is still just north of North York, probably going to be pushing into North York within half an hour or so. So that means that the downtown core of Toronto may be a bit more closer to that half an hour to maybe 50-minute mark before you start to see those storms rolling into your neck of the woods. Let's bring the radar in right now. I'll put the keyframe in so I don't have to make that jog again. So that line of storms right now is north of the city. Draw in with the marker. There we go. That turquoise line marks where the storms are, so impacting King City, Aurora, Uxbridge, and it's going to be tracking south and approaching that Highway 7 corridor, probably in about half an hour. So if you are in North York and you are out at a park, maybe it's time to start heading indoors and giving the storm some time to pass before you resume your activities.
Okay, we said 8 o'clock, and it looks like we're 15 minutes out, and it's going to be hitting around that timeline. So yes, it's pretty bang on. Okay, take a look at this. This is in Springwater. Our storm chaser, or a storm chaser, I should say, got this. Again, this is that same shelf cloud we've been watching. We can see the delineation between the bright sky and the very dark clouds. This has been moving so quickly. Craigleith, not far from Collingwood. Dramatic skies over the water here. Again, we can see this storm coming for kilometers when you're on the shores of Georgian Bay or Lake Huron. A little harder to see when you're, say, in Algonquin Park. And we did have tornado warnings earlier for Algonquin Park. Fortunately, they've come to an end. Now we go to Sauble Beach. Just incredible looking shelf cloud. Same thing, same storm system coming over Lake Huron. People hopefully getting off that beach sooner than later. A lot of people just lingering, maybe a little bit too long, because we know that the lightning on these storms can travel much farther than the storm itself. So here's our next question, and we really appreciate that you are getting involved and you're asking us questions. So what are the impacts for Elgin, Middlesex, and London? So down towards now southwestern Ontario.
Yeah, we'll pull up the radar for that. We do have some storms already moving into your area. See where the radar is. Right now I have to move the radar once again. A bit further to the southwest. Looks like it's more of a scattered storm threat over there. We have one cell that is severe warned for the western portion of Elgin County. This is west of London, just south of Watford and Strathroy. This storm is warned for winds up to 90 kilometers an hour and even some nickel-sized hail. So it will create a bit of a slow go maybe on the roads. It seems to be tracking somewhat southeast. Maybe it will scrape the City of London. We'll have to see if they get put under a warning. But so far, the City of London, you are just under a severe thunderstorm watch. You aren't under a warning. But we do expect that line of storms further to the north to eventually make its way further south. So just a heads up, it's possible that you will get caught in some more activity as the evening progresses.
Yeah, things are changing pretty quickly with this. We start with the watch, and that's hopefully gives you enough time to be prepared in case a storm does hit. And then the severe thunderstorm warnings, they come and go because this storm is moving so quickly. This line of storms, it's not just one, this line of storms moving about 80 kilometers per hour. So things are changing. You may be in a warning 1 minute and then out of it the next, and vice versa. You may think, okay, well, we just have a watch where I am, and the next thing you know, you're looking at your phone and you've got a brand new alert. Will the severe storms continue through the night? That is a great question, and it depends too, Dylan, on where you are.
Yeah, it really does depend, especially if you are in southwestern Ontario and even into the GTA, because some of the models think that we may even see a second round of storms. Now, the big question is it going to be severe? Well, as we head later into the night, the sun goes down, you start to lose that instability when you don't have that surface heating anymore. And oftentimes that means that you might get a light show, but you probably don't have to worry about anything too strong like we're seeing at the moment. Here's one of the forecast models playing things out. You can see those storms developing over southern Michigan around the Yazoo, Leslie, Liberty area. Then they're going to be tracking through southwestern Ontario, pushing into London, Exeter. Here's one of the things I am noticing. If you can see the shape of this, got a bit of a
a little
bow,
bend in it,
yeah.
a little bow. Yep.
That could indicate that there may still be some stronger winds. Now, whether those winds reach the ground is a different story, because sometimes we get that surface inversion where there's kind of a warm layer that prevents some of those stronger winds from mixing down. But that cluster of storms looks to be pushing into the GTA around that midnight hour. So even if we don't see any severe weather, I think there is a pretty good chance of another round of lightning and thunder.
Sometimes the nighttime can be your friend when it comes to severe weather because we lose that energy of the day. The sun has set. But sometimes these storms like to hang on a little bit when we get those late night light shows, as you were mentioning. But traditionally, they aren't as severe as what we might get in the afternoon or early evening.
And this is, I guess, a good reminder that if you are outside camping, out by the beach tonight, have some way of receiving those warnings in the event that something does happen, so you can take action accordingly before it is too late.
Okay, if you got a dog afraid of storms, be aware that these are coming in 11, 12. The ones that we've been following for the last almost 3 hours now, they continue to progress south and eastward, but this is a huge chunk of real estate that's being impacted, and it's moving in, of course, on those urban areas, those high populated areas in the south around the GTA, just north of the GTA now. And then we're moving eastward here through the Ottawa Valley, places like Arnprior, across the Ottawa River, Wakefield, again under severe thunderstorm warning. So we do have active weather in eastern Ontario as well, mainly north of Ottawa, north of Gatineau, but still in areas that again can be highly forested and certainly tricky to see a storm coming.
Yeah, you can see all those reds on this. It looks like on another radar app that the outflow boundary for these storms is kind of pushing well ahead of the storm. So that means that you may even start to see those strong winds before it even starts to rain. So you might see those dark clouds rolling ahead. And even though the storm seems to be in the distance, those winds could still pick up quite significantly.
Okay, so once they start doing that, you're going to really run out of time if you are trying to bring things in that you are worried about blowing away, for example. If you wanted to take the dog out for a walk, do something outdoors, you have to do it quickly because those winds will be picking up fast and they could be causing problems. We've seen those very strong winds in the past with this storm. It has had a history of winds about 100 kilometers per hour. And we've seen video evidence as well as live video with Mark Robinson of damage because of the winds. And we know that a lot of people have lost power as well. And it's hard for hydro workers to get back out there in the middle of a lightning storm. We don't want them to do that either. But we know that they will be working very hard at getting everybody back online as soon as possible.
Yeah, it looks like we have updated numbers for the power outages. Let's pull that up right now for you. Nope, that's not the map we want to see. Here it is. Let's
I know you had it.
plays. Oh, it's a running number.
Okay. All right, so 13,000 plus, that's around the Owen Sound area, 24,800 plus between Parry Sound and Midland, and then down around Goderich, 9,000 plus. So the numbers are rising, not surprisingly. Grey Bruce, Simcoe County, and Huron County all being impacted with that line of storms.
And this can be a bit unfortunate, especially if you're hoping to have that AC working, because around these areas through Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, you're still not seeing the real big relief as that cold front sweeps through, with those temperatures still in those 30s, upper 20s as we head into the rest of the week. So hopefully you have some way at least to find some way to cool yourself off throughout the coming days.
Might be doing this, jumping in this water. This is in torrents, not when it's stormy, of course, but after the storm goes by. And we can see this, I mean, to me, this looks like a traditional cottage. This may be your home if you're lucky enough. There's a boat in the water. We've got the beautiful deck and the view of the storm. And yes, those winds really picking up. Flag wrapped around the pole. I have a Canadian flag myself in the backyard, and often does that, you know, when the winds are bad. Owen Sound, one of the places we were pointing out, getting the power outages. Also, seeing that shelf cloud, so many cameras raised at it, and if we continue to see a cloud that's looking like this moving into southern Ontario, I don't know if it has retained its structures, but on the back side of it, this is a great indication. Scott in Wingham showing us that the trees and branches were literally knocked down, strewn across the road. So Wingham certainly seeing some very powerful winds, enough to do some damage. And then the dramatic shelf cloud in Port Elgin moving across Lake Huron. People starting to pack up, getting ready to go. You can see the lightning on this storm as well. So this was a little bit earlier, about the time we were starting our broadcast, when this shelf cloud started to move across Lake Huron, and areas like Port Elgin and Southampton were under a severe thunderstorm warning, and for good reason. Wow, it doesn't look much more beautiful than that, but yes, those people should be moving maybe just a little bit quicker, especially when we saw the storm damage done in Wingham, for example. Okay, so now that we have the severe thunderstorm warnings in the GTA, people are wondering about the timeline. We appreciate your questions here on this live stream. So what is the timeline of the storms into the GTA? And we'll look at our radar and again the predictions for the next hour or so, because it's moving pretty fast.
Yeah, well, if you're in Vaughan, the timeline for the storms is now, because those storms are right on your doorstep. But if you are further south along, let's bring up the radar actually. All right, here's the radar. You can see the storms around Richmond Hill, Concord, pushing into Vaughan. Give it a second to load so I can take out the marker once again.
As we sit quietly and wait for it.
Get a little bit of a breather right here. Still trying to load in. There we go. We have it loaded in, and now we have the marker, which also requires time to load.
This is great. It's 2025.
Yep.
Cutting edge.
So there's that line of storms. It's going to be pushing south. It seems to be right on that Highway 7 corridor, which goes something like that. Hopefully your TV is large enough so you can see through those messy scribbles over there. But it's right on that Highway 7 corridor, pushing south, impacting Richmond Hill, Woodbridge, Concord at the moment. And I'll try and time it out right now to see when it begins to move to the 401 corridor, which is a few kilometers away.
Yeah, when that happens, it could be a problem. I mean, it's almost 8 o'clock, so hopefully fewer vehicles on the road. But if you live in the GTA, you know it never seems like there's fewer cars on the road. It always seems like there's traffic, no matter what time of day. Of course, some times are worse than others, between, let's say, 3 and 6 o'clock, worse than 8 o'clock at night. And hopefully people are aware that this is coming through, and they may have put off their plans or maybe left a little bit earlier in order to avoid this storm. Because once it moves in, and we've seen evidence of that when we're watching our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, that the winds really pick up, the rain can be very heavy, and the visibility can become poor in a matter of minutes. And also there's potential for hail on these storms too.
Yeah, so I did some quick math while you were talking over there, and it looks like the storms are going to be reaching that 401 corridor from Mississauga to Scarborough in about half an hour. So around 8:30, that's when you will start to see that line of storms pushing into that south end of North York, and then probably another half an hour on top of that. So closer to 9 p.m., that's when we could see those storms making their way toward the downtown core of Toronto.
Okay, so it's on the way, folks, and that's why Environment Climate Change Canada have issued a severe thunderstorm warning. Prepare for heavy downpours and strong winds. Take in anything that you might be worried about blowing away. Maybe protect your gardens if you can do that, because this could be problematic. The good news is it's moving fast, so it'll come in and move out very quickly. We're going to go to our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, who knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's watched this storm go over him a couple of times now. Where are you headed, Mark?
Well, I'm headed actually down towards Tavistock, but I think I'm going to make a turn before then, just so I can show you what's going on with these storms, because I'm seeing something now with these storms that tells me that we're seeing a weakening phase of them. Usually when you see that gust front, like the shelf cloud that you were showing earlier, when you see that tucked right close to the core, that means that storm is like, it's got all kinds of, lots of energy and it's really doing what it wants to do. When you see the gust front sort of push away or start to get a little less organized, a little less, wow, look at that, that usually means the storm's starting to lose some of its oomph. The storm isn't quite doing what it was before. Doesn't have the energy, and that isn't too surprising given the time we're talking about, because a lot of these storms are going to be based on the heating during the day. And as we get into sort of the end of the day and we lose that heating, you can see, look how far away. I'm going to pull the camera off just for a second. It's not even raining that much here, but you can really see the core of the storm is way over here. I can't even get my finger in there. I'm going to try from the bottom. Yeah, so the core of the storm is sort of way over in here, and then the gust front way out here. And that sort of tells me that we're seeing these storms begin to weaken. They're just not, they don't have the energy that they were playing with earlier. And this is, again, as I said, something what we expected. Now, that isn't to say that these storms aren't dangerous, because I will just go back to my usual thing, which is lightning is the #1 danger in any of these storms. And that is where we are still seeing some lightning on these storms. Still some interesting structure. It's going to continue to push towards the south. And it will push towards the GTA. And I think a lot of the issues that we're going to see maybe in Toronto and that sort of, it's going to be flooding more so than really strong wind damage or anything tornadic or anything like that. But as we get close to the night, it will ramp down in strength, and that's kind of what I'm seeing now. So I may or may not head home in a little bit. We will see. But for now, I'm going to see what this storm has, what it has left as it rolls over me as I'm near the town of Tavistock.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Stay safe out there. I think the storms are going to end. The sky is going to get dark. It's going to be nighttime, and then we will draw to a close our live stream. But it's good to see what the storm has done. It is better to see that it's starting to weaken in some areas, at least to where Mark is in southwestern Ontario. But what about Ottawa? How severe will the storms get in Ottawa? That's one of the questions that we've received on our live stream. So let's find out.
Yeah, well, the storms are right on your doorstep. Good news is, similar to southwestern Ontario, it seems like that cluster of storms is losing a bit of steam as it's pulling into the city of Ottawa. But the winds still could be gusting up to 90 kilometers an hour. The warning description had hail up to Toonie sized, but I do think that size probably has dropped a bit with the last few radar scans, because returns just aren't as bright and strong anymore. I'll give it a few seconds once again to load the radar in so that I can pan over to Ottawa.
Yeah, as you were saying, there's a lot of information on these radars, so we want to be able to give it some time to load up. And obviously, this really shows how long this line of storms is. It just keeps on going. So from southwestern Ontario all the way out across the Ottawa River into Quebec as well. This is showing where the storms are. Is this, so this is up to date now?
Yeah, this is
so
up to date.
Still, yeah, close to Ottawa. Certainly Gatineau is about to get hit.
Yeah, you have the rain right on your doorstep, but remember that outflow boundary I was talking about earlier, how it's kind of surging ahead of the storms. Draw it in. That's roughly where it is, so those storm winds are already pushing well ahead of the storms. And when that happens, that warm moist air that the storms like to feed on, well, it's going further and further away from the source, and it gets more diluted as it gets transported into the cloud, which can help to weaken the storm. But we still have winds up to 90 kilometers an hour for Ottawa. Looks like maybe this cluster over here might give you a second punch as it continues to track southeast. That first round might just miss the city of Ottawa, but still winds up to 90 kilometers an hour, and maybe some Nichols, maybe Toonie-sized hail if a stronger cell develops.
When you're in a downtown core as well, and those strong winds come howling through, you feel a little more when you've got the buildings and then it's the wind just funnels in. So yeah, you're going to feel a 90 kilometer per hour wind. I've been out before where I felt it's really windy and it was maybe 40, 50 kilometer per hour winds, and that's, you know, that feels strong. So 90, you're going to feel it, and it may do some damage as well. Thankfully, the worst of it is not in the city of Ottawa, but obviously the winds are.
And speaking of those wind tunnels, that's another reason why we say don't stop under an overpass when there are tornado warnings, because they can act as wind tunnels to just funnel that wind. And on top of creating stronger winds underneath that overpass, you're just blocking the traffic and putting other people around you in danger.
Yep, and if there's heavy rain and not a lot of ways for that water to drain, then it can also cause flooding, and under an overpass is a bad place to be. And Mark was saying he was a little more concerned about that with Toronto versus other parts of this storm, the rain, and that's because of the concrete. So yes, there's a lot of moisture with this storm. It's moving fast, which means we're in a better position not to have flooding, but we throw in the urban areas and the lack of drainage and the lack of places for this water to go, you can certainly get flash flooding. It may not last a long time. Some of that drains pretty quickly, but you know, there may be some hydroplaning on the roads as a result.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to drive according to the conditions. Here's a look at the rainfall over the last 6 hours, and this is radar derived, so there may be some spots where it's maybe a few millimeters shy or too high, but the general picture is that pretty much everyone's seen some heavy thunderstorms rolling through the area.
Yeah, almost no one has been missed. 20 to 30 millimeters for the most part. Heavier rain fell over Lake Huron, and that's when the storm was really getting going. So 50 to 75 millimeters likely in a couple of spots, but for the most part, we're looking at, let's say, I said 20, but maybe 10 to 30.
And it looks like we have a bit of a cell that could be rolling into the London area just around Strathroy. That's the one we took a look at earlier, and I think there's a severe thunderstorm warning still in place. Hold up, let me check another map right now. Yeah, so the City of London is now under a severe thunderstorm warning. I would assume that it is
quick.
for winds up to 90 kilometers an hour. We'll bring the radar to show that storm. Kim, you may have to refresh that to pull in the latest information. All right, so here's that cell that is just west of London. It's going to be slowly tracking its way east. It's currently located around Strathroy, and it's probably going to bring in some gusty winds, maybe up to nickel-sized hail. So heads up, London, some stormy skies on the way.
Yeah, another urban center, but London is a pretty sprawling city. It's a large city, and it's the forest city. So there are a lot of trees in London. Bad when it comes to wind, good when it comes to absorbing rain. So a little bit less of a concrete jungle than, say, maybe Toronto or Mississauga.
I'll bring up the Toronto area on radar because we seem to be getting some purple returns on one of the cells just around Thornhill, between Thornhill and Markham. That could be, oh, that went the wrong way. that could be indicating maybe some small hail with this as well. So get the marker out right now.
Just want to mention severe thunderstorm warning now in place for Hamilton. I know they were not in one, and now they are.
All right, so zoom down to Hamilton. You can see the line of storms is still quite far away from Hamilton, but when those counties get triggered, then you can get those storm warnings quite far away from the storm. But there's a pretty good chance that if you are in Hamilton, you will end up seeing some lightning and thunder later on tonight.
Yeah, it's not immediate, that's for sure. Well, we're seeing the storm is around Kitchener-Guelph area right now, moving down towards Highway 6. So yes, there are areas obviously being impacted right now by severe weather, heavy rain, strong winds. Areas around the GTA, heads up, certainly North York and Markham, those areas getting impacted, but Toronto, Mississauga, Oakville, not quite yet.
And speaking of that Toronto storm, it seems like that line has lost a little bit of steam on that western side, as you can see around Concord with that latest radar scan. Just a little bit of green and yellow on the map, but that heavy area is around Thornhill and Markham. That's where that heaviest cell is going through the area, and it's probably going to be moving something like this toward maybe Scarborough, Pickering, Ajax within the next half hour or so. So probably closer to 8:30, that's when it's reaching that 401 corridor.
This is what the storm looked like when it was coming in. We've had this time lapse that was captured in Sudbury, which is really helpful because we can see how it goes from nothing, calm conditions, the water not even moving, and then we've watched the sky first. Number one, the clouds are starting to move in, the wind is starting to pick up, it's starting to get dark, and then suddenly the sky opens up and down comes the rain. So it's a really great perspective of this storm moving in. I know it's a time lapse, but it is a fast moving storm. Over we go to Torrance, Ontario. Again, we're talking about a place where usually people go. Summertime, there's the lake, beautiful, great view, but you don't want to be outside in something like this. Most of these homes and cottages are surrounded by trees, as is the indication here. And again, it can get dangerous, especially if the winds are particularly powerful. And here we are in Sauble Beach, now Saugeen Beach, I believe, with these views of the shelf cloud moving in. Absolutely spectacular. I know people wanted to be at the beach, and especially since it was so hot. Heat warnings have been in place across southern Ontario with temperatures feeling like the 40s, but it's time to get in when you start to see a cloud like that. And in Wingham, Ontario, indication that damage had been done as a result of those very strong winds, in some cases 90 to 100 kilometers per hour, enough to rip off branches and knock down trees. So thank you to everyone who has let us use your videos, who have shared their videos with us or photos. We really appreciate it. It tells the story. It lets people know who are in the path of this storm what could happen, what it might look like for them as well. Our next question, what will Peterborough see? Another place around the Kawarthas, Peterborough City certainly, but an area where people do go to vacation in the summer.
And it looks like right now that storm is right over top of the city of Peterborough. So sorry we didn't get to this question sooner, but we'll talk about areas further downstream that will be seeing those storms. There's the radar. Move a little bit further east over to Peterborough, so you can see that line of storms already moving through. Doesn't look like there's too much rain, just a little pocket of heavy rain, but once again, the main concern will be those winds. You may even see some light rain rolling in behind for a little bit until all of that precipitation clears to your east. But areas to the north of Peterborough, east of that Highway 28 corridor, approaching areas that don't have too many names popping up on this map.
Yeah, this is the Kawarthas area. Apsley is the town usually people go to get their groceries before they go to the cottage. They stock up there. So a lot of lakes in this area. And again, if you're in this area, maybe you're vacationing this week, popular week to be away, you're going to want to be aware of this. In fact, it was around this area that I saw the trees come down. And now we've got Mark back on and he's saying, oh no, which always makes me a little nervous. But I actually never know if it's good or bad. Like if the storm is dying, you might say, oh no. And if it's ramping up, you might say, oh no. So I don't know which way it's going to go this time.
Well, you're talking about You're talking about Apsley, which is right beside where my cottage is at Coe Hill. So
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I have Coe Hill
what
here.
I'm actually looking at, yeah, well, what is a bit more of a problem, though, is what you can see right here. This is actually ramping up a little bit, and it's got some strong winds in there, and you can sort of see it rushing towards me here. I'm just south, I'm just trying to figure out where I am. I'm right near Tavistock, so just south of Stratford. And this is probably the one storm that's got at least a little bit of wind on it. So we might see some damage in places probably south of Tavistock, Strathallan, maybe. Like, it sort of depends on where it goes through. But you can get an idea of just sort of look at the color back there. And, you know, Kim, you were talking about green. There's your greenage right there. Now I look on radar, it's not giving me a big hail indication. That color is giving me a hail indication. So I might have to go in there and sample that storm. So I'll probably go to the south and catch it sort of on the way down to, let me see where I'm going to go. It's down towards Strathallan. Just because this looks a little stronger than I was expecting. And it's just kind of, the one thing I'm going to say, Kim, right now, it's just got this eerie quiet. There's no wind right now, and there's no rain, just a bunch of bugs and me and this. So very cool. I love this. I love this ominous moment just before the storm hits.
It's very eerie. It's very eerie. It's all of a sudden everything got really quiet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and you know what? My earpiece just crackled, which means that there's. Okay, I'm getting back in the car because the hair on the back of my arms is standing up, and that is indicating that there's a lot of potential lightning danger. So yeah, I'm not fooling around with that. So in the car I am. But wow, Kim, you just, and like both of you, you should see this. I mean, the color on the camera, again, it looks very white, but it's not. It's like this bright green. Very cool.
There's the lightning.
Yeah. So bright green, yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, this is good. This is going to get good in a few minutes. So yeah, I'll let you know if I can get over there and maybe just go a little bit south. Oh, there's the lightning again. Yeah, deep booming thunder on this too. So definitely something that I'll be watching very closely as this comes into me. And you can actually see everyone's brake lights coming on as it gets closer. But like, look at that. You can actually, whoa!
Whoa,
that was
strong.
really close.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this off here, and take a look, Kim. We keep talking about this sort of situation where you have the rain curtains, and there they are, right there. So that means that I'm about to get absolutely buried by this storm. So I'll just put the camera back forward so we don't get it absolutely soaked like we did last time, and we'll just watch as the storm begins to come in on me. And as I said, this part of the line is getting whoa, there we go. It's getting a little stronger than I originally expected. So I'm going to just maybe sneak a little bit south. Oh, more lightning. I'm going to sneak a little bit south. I think I've got a potential a road just to my south, and just see what we've got here, because this is kind of an interesting storm for sure.
Yeah, it's really taking some twists and turns.
Oh,
okay.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there are lots of lightning coming now. I wanted to point the camera in a slightly different direction so you can see, but I don't think I'm gonna need to. I'm just gonna pull backwards right here, and oh my goodness. Just give me a second. Just trying to pull back here. There we go. There we go. And hopefully I'm not cutting anybody off too much. But you can see, Kim. Can you guys see a little bit? I'm gonna try and. It's so hard to do all of this all at once. But I want to show you. There you go. Just missed that guy. But you can kind of see on the road there. Yeah, it doesn't look like too much at this point because again, it's really hard for the camera to pick it up. But I think the stronger part of the line is a bit south, so that's where I'm going to head. I'm going to head a little bit south and see if I can get into a little bit of a stronger core of the storm. So wish me luck.
Okay, good luck. Yeah, we could definitely see that rain sweeping across the road just now. And when you're parked for too long, it looks like you're in a car wash. Okay. this is the reason why we want people to be inside, because obviously there's a lot of electricity on this storm, so much lightning, just sheets of lightning. And this is a close-up view of where Mark is. This is what the radar looks like where he is right now, around the Tavistock area in southwestern Ontario.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting storm. We can bring out the marker for this. So over around south of Stratford, we have a little bit of a surge in winds. That's pushing kind of southeastward. And then we have that original storm over here, probably got an outflow boundary somewhat sagging southward, but kind of where we see those winds potentially meeting up just around here, that's where you could see a little bit of rotation start to develop, maybe supercell in the works. So far on radar, the rotation isn't anything too impressive, but it's something we'll definitely keep an eye on over the next few minutes.
It's interesting too that this storm at one moment looks like it's weakening, things aren't, really looking all that severe or dangerous, and then a moment later things have changed. We get that lake breeze, and suddenly things have ramped up once more. And in some cases it's a matter of geography. Some places are seeing severe weather, and other places it is dying down a little bit. But yeah, Mark's really been experiencing all of it as he rides along the storm.
And we can see that line of storms is currently extending almost from Kitchener down to Park Hill. That's where the heavy stuff is. And then we have another little isolated cell, almost a small cluster of storms just around Strathroy. That's going to be moving into London with some gusty winds. And then we'll jump over to Toronto, where things have fallen apart a little bit with these storms.
Totally. Just around Markham, we've got something going on, but when you're looking at just the greens and the yellows, that's much lighter rain, and so it's an indicator that the storms are not severe in those regions.
It looks like the west end of the city may luck out. We could still see things pop up once again, because I believe there is that Lake Ontario lake breeze just sitting around Etobicoke through to Forest Hill and North York, so it's possible things may pop up once again. But as we mentioned earlier, once those initial cells kind of tracked off of that Lake Erie breeze or confluence zone, they started to die down. And we just have that lone cell hanging on just around that 407, 404 intersection, and probably moving toward that Scarborough-Pickering area by 8:30 p.m.
Now, don't get us wrong, this is also a very densely populated area. Like once that moves in towards Scarborough, a lot of people are going to be impacted by this storm. It doesn't have to be downtown Toronto. Okay, we're going to go back to Mark now, where the rain is really coming down. We know he was trying to get a little farther south with this particular storm. Now he's down around Tavistock.
Holy cow.
The lightning is almost nonstop.
Wow.
Look at this. Okay, Mark, we've got you now.
And I've got hail. Kim, I got hail now. I get hit smacking into the back of the car. I'm just sort of in the core right now. You can really start to see like just across that little field there. I'm just trying to film that as best I can, or show you as best I can. It's like we're losing light a little bit, especially in the core of these storms. But wow, you can really hear just the roar of the thunder. It may not. Wow, that was close. That was really close. That was, I heard the crackle before the bang on that one, but you can really see, I'm going to try and like, it's hard to keep the lens clean while trying to show you all of this, but like just ahead of me, I can't see down the road at all. I'm going to clean the lens off. I can hear hail bouncing off the back of the car in a big way. There we go. Hopefully that you can see a little bit better now. But yeah, look at the wind on this. Yeah, so definitely we had a real ramp up into the core of this storm. It's lightening up just a touch, maybe. Let me turn the car around. I'm going to point the nose into this, so I'm not getting everything soaked. So I can keep the camera from getting absolutely soaked and wet, and maybe we can just get an idea of what it would be like to drive in this, which would be not something that I'm going to suggest for most people, because this reminds me of a hurricane as opposed to a thunderstorm. This quite often happens with these big rain-making storms. You get lots of rain on them, or excuse me, lots of wind in the core of them, especially if these ones begin to dump, basically just collapse, which this one might or might not be doing. It's hard to say, but look at that. Like, that looks like that. That is as like bright as I can get the camera, and you can barely see anything ahead. It's like being in a snow squall right now. Kim, this is just right in the middle of the core of this of this line, and this is the part of the line that's headed down towards Woodstock, Brantford, and down eventually to Long Point.
Looks like you're in a car wash. You can't even see anything. I mean, this is wild. Of course, he's getting a car wash, but
yeah. I can't even. I can't even keep the windshield wipers going fast enough to give you a good idea, so you can see down the road. But that's about as best as I can do. That is how much the rain is falling with this storm right now, with this line.
Yeah, there's no way I would want to be driving in that. Thank you, Mark, for showing us what is going on with this storm. It looks like some of our severe thunderstorm warnings have ended now in southern Ontario. So we had severe thunderstorm warnings around the Hamilton-Milton area. Those have now been dropped. So it looked like we were looking at the radar and saying, yeah, that line is really falling apart around the GTA. I mean, it doesn't mean that it won't ramp up again, but right now it's not looking like anything people have to be too worried about. Toronto eastward, however, and then up towards Georgian Bay, different story. And southwestern Ontario, where Mark is certainly getting the brunt of the storm right now. And there's also a little bit of a worry too in eastern Ontario, where we have severe thunderstorm warnings, and across into Quebec as well. So there's a lot going on with this air mass impacting so many people. Look at that, just it's almost like puzzle pieces all the way along from the southwest corner of Ontario crossing into the southwest corner of Quebec.
Yeah, it's quite a system with a lot of storms going on. Jump over to that Ottawa storm. You can see the severe thunderstorm warning is still in place for the city of Ottawa. You had that gust front go through, bringing those winds, but now it looks like you might finally get to see some rain with that second cell that's right on your doorstep. So you will get a little bit of a heavy downpour with that. And speaking of downpours, here's a look at the rain using radar estimates from the last hour through Stratford, Milverton, Kitchener, picking up 10 to 20 millimeters of rain.
Okay, so that's a pretty decent downpour, especially when you keep in mind that it happened pretty fast. It's not like 22 millimeters over the course of 5 hours. It's 22 millimeters over the course of maybe half an hour, 45 minutes kind of thing. So we've had a lot of rain. This is Mitchell, Ontario. We were talking about Mitchell. Again, this is one of the spots in southwestern Ontario that has sustained some tree damage. Certainly we're seeing a lot of branches down on the road there. I think we also have a photo of a fairly large tree on the ground. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But yes, so this is the reason why there are severe thunderstorm warnings. When you have winds this strong and a line that's moving quickly, you can clearly get damage. And if you're driving and a branch hits your car, or if you're walking, even worse, and the branch hits you, that can cause injury. We're looking at some really dramatic looking skies here. Earlier, of course, it was all about that shelf cloud, the leading edge of the severe thunderstorm. There's another look at it. And when you see a sky like that, you know, it's time to get in. The wind's blowing the dust from the roads. And here is that tree damage we were talking about near Mitchell. So this is Alluring Storms. Thank you for this. Northeast of Mitchell, 8:19 p.m. It's great. I know Alluring Storms on Twitter, and he's really great at being very specific of reporting what's going on. So the fact that his exact time, which was just moments ago, really, 8:19 p.m., and there's a tree down on the road, and I'm sure Alluring Storms is out there chasing right now.
And you can help with the reporting process by sharing what you see on social media, especially on X, where a lot of storm chasers post their reports. You can use the hashtag #OnStorm thing to share your reports, but also tag us at the Weather Network if you want to be featured on air with your videos and photos of the storms rolling through the area. We'll jump over to radar right now so you can see what's going on in southwestern Ontario with some of those stronger storms. Here's a look at the radar imagery. I'll load it in so I can use the marker. But if you are in Tavistock, heads up, it looks like there could be fairly gusty winds with this, gusting up to 90 kilometers an hour. But it looks like that Tavistock area, that's where you want to watch out, because that's probably where the strongest portion of the storm will roll through the area. Looks like the marker is taking its sweet time once again.
I'm just going to shout out, because Alluring Storms, it's Paxton is its name. So Alluring Storms is his handle, Paxton is his name. So I just wanted to say thank you, Paxton. Great photo. Yeah, so we're waiting, obviously. Again, this is the area where our storm hunter Mark Robinson is and just was. He was there in the extreme rain, those powerful winds, and almost non-stop lightning. And that lightning was awfully close as well. And he knew it was coming. He said he literally felt the hair on his arms starting to stand and went into his vehicle. And it was moments after that that things really started to get ramped up with the lightning and certainly that heavy rain. Barely see as a result, and those very strong winds. It's good news, bad news. It's bad news that it's moving so fast. People have barely enough time to be ready for it. If you're under the watch or the warning, you know that it's time to prepare. But the good news is it is moving so fast, so it gets in and gets out fairly quickly. We saw that rain. If this was a slow mover, this would be very heavy rain.
Yeah, with all that moisture in the atmosphere. But the good news is today those winds aloft in the sky are aligned right to keep those storms chugging along and not staying put for too long. It's a bit of a balance. You either go with the heavy rain that's associated with weaker winds aloft, or you get these kind of stronger wind events with straight line winds.
Yeah, both of them can be damaging in different ways. Of course, anybody who's had a flooded basement knows how that can be extremely upsetting for people and costly as well. So this is not that because these storms are moving so fast. If they stalled out, that would be a different story altogether. But you can have damage. We saw some roof damage on a barn. That's what Mark was capturing in real time just a little while ago. We could see some of those, not shingles, but sheets kind of peeling away off of the roof. I don't know how long they had been there for, but they couldn't really withstand the winds that we were seeing in that area. But again, the storms continue. They're moving south and east. Hamilton now out of the severe thunderstorm warning, but where Mark is, they're still in it. So let's go take a look.
Yeah, Kim. I'm headed down towards Woodstock, and I'm sort of traveling through the core of the storm. I've seen a couple big branches down, but nothing too significant. Nothing like what you're sort of hearing about Mitchell. But the one thing is, speaking of Mitchell, I did see on Twitter one of the shots of like almost golf ball sized hail, maybe even a little bit bigger than that, in that hail core that we were talking about earlier, and that I was trying to get to, but just could not get there. There was some gigantic hail in there, so that was a bit of a surprise. But we are tending to see bigger and bigger hail sizes in southern Ontario.
We've got a photo up right now, Mark.
Sort of the newer problems. Oh yes, do you see that? It's like these the size of two toonies.
Yes,
I think is what the shot that he sent.
A toonie and a quarter, and it's bigger than both of them.
That is, and that's a big chunk of hail for southern Ontario, and that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing sort of a trend towards more larger hail like that. We didn't used to see hail, quite to that size, and we've actually seen even bigger in southern Ontario. So this is one of these like newer issues that we're finding. Now, it could be that we just have more people out looking for giant hail, and we've got more people getting pictures of it, or it could be that we are seeing a trend towards larger hail. This is one of the scientific mysteries of southern Ontario meteorology. Kim?
Well, yeah, something to keep you on your toes, Mark. It's not great for people or insurance companies. I'm sure we don't want the large hail in southern Ontario. We get a lot of stuff down here. I don't know if that's what we need on top of everything else. It's getting quite dark, as we can see, 8:30 now, just past 8:30 Eastern time. And, the storms, they can be scarier when you're driving at night because of the lack of visibility, and the lightning can always seem more dramatic as well. And it's really not that safe to start chasing storms when the night moves in, Mark.
Yeah, no, I always try to tell people if you're going to go storm chasing, don't do it at night. Especially if we're talking about the Great Plains. You get tornadoes down there that could easily be EF4s at night. I got close to one this year near Greensburg, Kansas. Gigantic tornado down there at night. Couldn't see a thing. Lightning was unbelievable. But we can have that same sort of problems here in Southern Ontario. So, just because it's getting into dark doesn't necessarily mean that the threat is completely over. Now, we tend to, when we're talking about Southern Ontario, we tend to really see those storms ramp down in strength in Southern Ontario just because of the geography and where we are on the continent. But with these storms now, there's still very strong winds. You can kind of see through the shot that I've got there. I'm sort of traveling with the wind a little bit right now, so it doesn't feel it's not bouncing the car around as much. But going and say the cars that are coming towards me now, I'm having trouble seeing them just a little bit. Talking about, we talk about the snow squalls. Oh, okay, whoa. Oh, wow. Big tree down right there. Big branches and tree down right beside me there.
Yeah, we can see it.
Definitely be a bit careful there. And this is the kind of thing that can really surprise you. You can sort of be going along, you think, oh, everything's fine, and that tree out of nowhere at night, those trees can be down, and if you're doing 80 kilometers an hour, you can miss them. You can see that, like, it might surprise you there. Another one down there.
Wow.
That's a whole tree down there. Not a big one, but definitely a tree down there. So yeah, remember I said that, like, south, the stronger winds? Looks like the stronger winds were definitely just a little bit south. But this line continues, and it's continuing towards Woodstock. And of course, it's going to impact the 401 and the 403 fairly soon. Those are very busy roads, even at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. Those are busy roads. So if you are on the 401, what are you doing watching TV? I kid. But if you are thinking, oh, I need to get down to somewhere, just wait till this passes, because this is the kind of conditions that you're going to be seeing on the 401. Or if you know someone that's driving on the 401, tell them to, give them a call, tell them to, hop off the road until this passes. I know that people will slow down the 401. That's always good to see. But you can still be surprised, and of course run yourself into real trouble if you can't see the road, and as I said, especially on the 401, the 403 itself.
Yeah, we know there's a lot of big trucks that travel those highways, and they need a lot of room to stop, and if people start stopping suddenly in this, it's going to quickly become a problem. I know they're great drivers and all, but you got to give them a wide berth, and it gets more difficult in weather like this, and the roads could be a little bit slick. And yeah, this is a great indicator of what has happened in the wake of these very strong winds. The fact that you have passed in the last 4 minutes 2 branches at least on the ground gives people the heads up that this is something that they may encounter. And when you're driving at night, you can't see it in advance, and that can be really rough. You've got a good vehicle, you're high up off the ground, but some vehicles are not that high off the ground, and when they cross over a branch or a tree, they could get themselves into trouble. Okay, I'm going to let you go now, Mark, at least for now. We'll see if we're checking in with you again,
Yep.
But it's getting awfully dark. We're going to take a look at the lightning shot here. So any of those white strikes that you see are obviously the lightning, and this storm has a lot of lightning in the southwest.
Yeah, you can see it really going up across the southwestern Ontario section from Kitchener all the way to areas west of London. The storm's still going on strong. If we push a little bit further to the east through Bancroft, Peterborough, it looks like it's not doing so well anymore, probably losing that instability as the storm has kind of gusted itself out. But the action right now in southwestern Ontario, I'm sure as nightfall, with the darker skies, it's putting on quite the show if you look out into the distance.
Yeah, no kidding. As long as you're looking out from your window and nothing else, don't get outside in this, because obviously this lightning can be very dangerous. These are some of the wind gusts we've seen. Not that bad, really. These are the weather stations.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that these are the winds in the places that have seen the strongest winds. The strongest we see here is 48 kilometers per hour in Toronto.
Yeah, these are probably more like ambient winds outside of the storms, and these are at the current time as well. Maybe, and then even for Toronto, it's probably at the airport where the storms ended up dying, so you won't get any of those good winds like they probably see over in Scarborough. Let's jump over to the radar right now to give you the latest update on the storms. We'll open it up once again. You can disregard those drawings right now. Give it another few seconds to load in.
Are you going to put new drawings on here?
We'll see.
All right. I'm hanging on.
Maybe if we get 1,000 more viewers, I'll put in new drawings.
Okay, great.
Right, there we go. Move the current stuff. And it's still being a bit slow. So there's our current line of storms in southwestern Ontario. You can see it's extending all the way from Cambridge down to Strathroy. Line didn't turn out exactly how I wanted, but it's good enough. And it's probably going to be approaching that Highway 401 corridor from Woodstock down to Dutton within 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes, give or take. Of course, if we do see more cells develop ahead of it, just like in London, then you might see those conditions deteriorate on the roads sooner. But at the moment, that line of storms aiming for that 401 corridor between Woodstock and Dutton in the next 30 to 50 minutes.
You don't like using discrete cells? That's a great meteorology term, but it makes people a little confused about the cells themselves. Okay, so we've got one lone wolf here. We've got the long line of storms as well. The warnings have been dropped around the Hamilton area, but again, we are looking at a few spots to the east that have some strong storms, but really dying down around the GTA and eastern areas of Toronto as well, towards Pickering, Oshawa. A couple of little strong storms there, but very small in comparison to the long line. And then things ramp up again once we move east towards the Ottawa Valley area.
Yeah, you can see those storms are still ongoing there. You can see the size of the storms is much smaller, really not too much red anymore on the map, and it seems like the downtown Ottawa area, you've gotten lucky. All those storms, as they reach you, they seem to just poof, die out, which is a nice change compared to many other severe weather events where it seems like any storm that develops around that Ottawa Valley area just explodes and does a whole bunch of severe stuff.
Yeah, Ottawa usually doesn't get missed when it comes to severe weather, as we've seen time and again. So you do need a break. It looks like both Ottawa and the City of Toronto getting a break from the worst of the weather, which is great news. For those who didn't, well, there's obviously cleanup to do. There's been branches down. And now the Toronto warning has come to an end. So severe thunderstorm warning in Toronto has now ended. Those storms, as we were indicating, were dying out around the City of Toronto and East Toronto. So good news there. The storm losing its power out of the area. Still have a severe thunderstorm watch going, but no longer a warning. Anywhere in red, that's where our warnings are. Certainly southwestern Ontario experiencing those strong storms. More storms coming to an end as we move into cottage country and eventually into the eastern sections of Ontario towards the Ottawa Valley and across into western Quebec as well. So a few places still on the map under the severe thunderstorm warning, a lot less than what we had been dealing with earlier.
Yeah, it's finally starting to quiet down, but I don't know if you noticed, look at the southern section of Michigan. We have some severe storms working through, and this might in fact be that second round of storms that rolls in behind the line. We can bring up the radar to see what's going on there right now. Zoom it out a little bit, and
Yep, that's the new one.
there's the cluster of storms. Then these are probably going to be tracking kind of maybe even a bit of a northeast jog just along that 401 corridor, probably reaching the GTA as we head closer to midnight or even just after midnight.
Okay, so what's happening now is our current round of storms. The warning has ended for the City of Toronto and Hamilton as well. But late at night, as you're mentioning, maybe 11, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, another round of storms. And this one's just knocking at the door in the southwest. We'll see how it keeps itself together. That's always a possibility, that these storms die out or really weaken through the overnight, and maybe you won't have as much lightning as what's happening right now. But as it stands, parts of southwestern Ontario, certainly where Mark Robinson was, very intense storm happening. Let's go now to a little bit earlier on in Owen Sound, where we had a great shot of the shelf cloud. So the leading edge of this storm, this long linear system that was moving in off of Lake Huron. This is how it looked from Port Elgin, Ontario. Again, on the eastern shores of Lake Huron, very popular spot. Lots of people on the beach, beautiful beaches in Port Elgin and in Southampton, Saugeen Shores. But again, people need to get in when they see that. In Mitchell, some of the damage done as a result of the storm itself. Some very strong winds, enough to knock branches down and onto the roads. We've seen indications of large hail in Mitchell and full trees, although we're not talking about massive trees, but tall, skinny trees down on the ground. And our storm hunter Mark Robinson had to dodge a few trees on the ground, or branches at least, in his travels. Awfully dark right now. Mark, you're really getting that lightning show continuing, aren't you?
Yeah. I just wanted to give you a look at the gust front of the storm. You can kind of see a little bit of that, but definitely really dropping in strength. I'm not seeing the winds as before. There is some lightning happening, and I can definitely see it off in the distance off to the west there. So I may, stick around for a little while just to see if there is any interesting lightning. But I look at the radar now that I've stopped, and I can really see, a lack of the real strong, the real intense lightning that we saw earlier today. But yeah, it's been a very long day. I'm very tired. I'm sure you two are exhausted.
I'm sure. You've done a great job showing us what this storm could do and what it looked like before and during, and we appreciate what you bring to the table here. Lots of great information. So we'll let you go. We're going to wrap up here in a few more minutes and take another look at the radar, because there's still some places that are getting some intense weather. That was our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. Always great to storm chase anywhere, and if it's closer to home, it's a little bit easier for him. But it gets a lot more tricky, Dylan, once the sun goes down. It starts to get dark. It gets to be more dangerous. You don't see as much of the storm. You may see the lightning, but it's harder to see the other elements of the storm, and that's why we have radar.
Yeah, and we'll jump over to the radar right now, and our main focus will probably be just in southwestern Ontario, where we have that line of stronger storms working its way through the area, still north of that 401 corridor. But if you are along that 401 corridor from Glencoe, London, Ingersoll, Woodstock, Ayr, Cambridge, just a heads up, you will see some strong winds probably rolling through within the next half hour to an hour.
Okay, hopefully you're inside. You might hear them, not feel them necessarily, but you want to be indoors when these winds pick up. We've seen, obviously, the result of some of these strong winds. Hopefully you don't have any damage done. We've seen trees and branches on the ground. Sometimes it's, like I'll even get some branches on my driveway or on my car. Nothing major, just small little twigs and things. So hopefully that's as bad as it gets. But some of these areas, if you're in a more heavily wooded area, it may be problematic. And again, with that lightning, we want you indoors.
Yeah, but if you do have the chance to be far away from the storm, it might not be a bad idea to just sit on your porch and watch those storms drift away in the distance with probably quite a good light show, just because we have so much lightning on these. I'll bring up that map showing all those lightning strikes. There you go, really lighting it up over in southwestern Ontario. Yeah, all that white that you see on the map are lightning strikes. So this has a lot going on, especially at nighttime. You can really see it. Yeah, it's close to home, as you mentioned, if you watch it as the storm pulls away rather than comes towards you. But you don't want to be out farther than your front porch, because we know that lightning can strike very close to you, even if it's far away from where the storm is. A lot of that electricity still hanging around the atmosphere. And I guess as we start to wrap up this feed, just make sure you have some way to receive those warnings even as the night progresses. More than likely, this is kind of the dwindling process of the system, and it's going to remain mostly quiet for the rest of the evening, but we will be here to keep you up to date. Yeah, and you can check us out on the Weather Network on television as we cover storms, not just in Ontario, but in Alberta as well, where we've had some severe thunderstorm warnings too this evening. But we really are appreciative of you hanging in there with us for this live stream. And of course, whenever there are tornado warnings or severe weather, we will be here for you and doing the live streams. And as you mentioned, make sure that you are weather aware and that you can get alerts wherever you are. And we want you to enjoy your summer. Thanks for tuning in.